With this money, he is not far from being able to build houses for the entire village. Saving a little will be more than enough. Of course, Qin Mo wants even more. If he is going to build houses, he wants to build them well. He could spend any amount. If he had more, he could easily spend 300 or 500 million on building houses. It's known that the more he spends on the villagers, the more rewards he will receive. Just for this reason, Qin Mo wouldn't mind spending a little more, right? Otherwise, he could build a house for just over 100,000. And he wouldn't need to save money. Putting money aside, Qin Mo also received other rewards from the system. Last time, the system rewarded him with a villa. This time, he unexpectedly received an apartment. It's not big, just a 90 square meter 3-bedroom unit. Qin Mo didn't pay much attention to it, since he has the system. Compared to other rewards, this apartment isn't much. But still, in Danyang City, this apartment is worth at least 2 million. In the past, that was something you could hardly achieve in a lifetime of hard work. Now it's barely a bonus. In addition to the apartment, Qin Mo also received a calligraphy skill as a reward from the system. The system's rewards are indeed quite random. Calligraphy skill? After receiving this reward, Qin Mo immediately felt he had gained a deeper understanding of calligraphy. He almost wanted to pick up a brush and demonstrate right away. Besides this calligraphy skill, there is also a bunch of electronic products as rewards. Just the phones and computers alone, the system has given him quite a lot. He truly can't use all these electronic products by himself. When Qin Mo heard these prompt sounds, his first reaction was that these mobile phone rewards were meant for the elderly. But then he thought, some people in Qin family village couldn't even handle basic phones. A smartphone would only be a hassle. It might not even be needed. So, Qin Mo simply gave up on that thought. Overall, it was definitely a bountiful harvest. By the time all the beds in Qin family village were set up, the smile on Qin Mo's face hadn't faded. He kept smiling happily. The villagers noticed this and said, "Look at Xiao Mo, smiling so joyfully. Oh, this kid. He spent so much money, all his own money, and he's still so happy. He spent it all on us, and he is smiling? Doesn't he think that if he saved that money for himself, he could buy some clothes, get groceries, eat and drink whatever he wanted? Isn't that better?" This kid's smile seemed a bit silly to them, they said with a hint of helplessness. But upon hearing this, Qin Mo replied, "How can I not be happy? Look, with these new beds, the house looks so much better. It's also more comfortable to sleep on than before. Third uncle, that small bed you used to sleep on was a problem just to turn over. Look at this big bed, you can toss and turn however you want. Turn over? What? Am I going to fight with someone on the bed? What am I even tossing around for?" Qin Mo chuckled. How about finding a partner? This teasing made Qin Huai's face turn red. He had just mentioned fighting casually as a metaphor. Well, Qin Mo's comment took it in a different direction. Although his weathered face couldn't see very clearly, it was indeed flushed. Not only that, he scolded Qin Mo. "Damn it, you're being so disrespectful. Just messing around with your third uncle. Who would have thought that someone of his age could still feel shy?" The crowd couldn't help but laugh at the amusing scene between the two. While laughing, they also felt a bit emotional. Which child spends money on others and is so happy about it? This kid isn't silly. He is genuinely caring. As a result, the elders were mumbling to themselves. He's ours, he's ours. Their eyes were filled with affection, almost overflowing. Just then, Lu Jiaming suddenly slapped his thigh. Oh no. Seeing his reaction, Qin Mo quickly asked, "What happened?" Lu Jiaming hurriedly replied, "Boss, we forgot the water." Earlier, Lu Jiaming had been looking around and had spotted the humidifier. Seeing it reminded him they needed to buy purified water. In a flash, Lu Jiaming said, "It's a bit cold today. We definitely need to turn on the air conditioning. If we turn on the air conditioning, the room will get dry, and we need to use the humidifier. I'll go buy it now. By the time I get back, I'll fill it up." Lu Jiaming was in a hurry to head to town. Qin Mo was just about to say it wasn't too urgent, but then Song Chunmei spoke up. "Why do we need to buy water? Isn't they're running water at home?" She first mumbled, and then asked, "Are you going to town?" Lu Jiaming answered, "Yes." Song Chunmei quickly said, "Then I'll go too. It's just in time for your ride." As soon as Song Chunmei finished speaking, Qin Hualin asked, "What are you going to the town for?" Song Chunmei replied directly, "Isn't it fine for me to go for a stroll? Didn't Fu Guo just give me some money? I'm going to deposit it." That's right. The money was given by Qin Fu Guo. Qin Mo had just returned and had secretly handed over the cash he had withdrawn to Qin Fu Guo. While they were setting up the bed over there, Qin Fu Guo had already started distributing the land subsidies here. Once the bed was set up, the money was already distributed ahead of time. When the money was being distributed, the elderly folks were all excited. Qin Mo pretended to be unaware and casually remarked, "Has the government distributed money? The land subsidy? That's pretty good." Of course, the elderly had some questions, but they were all brushed off by Qin Fu Guo. After all, he was the village secretary. Whatever he said was the truth. At this moment, Song Chunmei's words reminded the other elderly folks about the matter. "All right. I want to go too." "Me too." "And me." They all wanted to go to the town. Lu Jiaming was amused. "Wow. Is the bus for Qin Village finally back in service? Chapter 66. You should be tempted by this. Just as Lu Jiaming thought this, he quickly shook his head. Bus didn't seem like a good term. Wasn't he that equivalent to insulting himself? What did he mean by his bus? Lu Jiaming felt a bit helpless. He never expected the name of a mode of transportation could become an adjective. But at this moment, Lu Jiaming said, "Shall we all go? Let us go? Let us go." A group of elderly folks boarded the vehicle. This was their first time officially riding the dedicated bus of Qin Village. For this, Lu Jianming even honked the horn before departing. Only then did the vehicle finally set off. Everyone from Qin Village went to the town, but Qin Mo did not follow. He took the rice, flour, and cooking oil to the laundry. Aunt Wang was indeed meticulous in her work. Washing and drying the clothes wasn't the end. She also ironed them neatly. Qin Mo hadn't mentioned this or reminded her, as it wasn't a dry cleaning shop. Usually, how many people would iron their own clothes? That was a minority. But Qin Mo said nothing, and Aunt Wang had everything done perfectly. He noticed that in the past few days, the elderly folks' clothes had been looking a bit ragged. Qin Mo placed the items down and said, "It's fine, no need to iron." Aunt Wang smiled and replied, "They look great when they're crisp and neat. Look at how clean the folks from our Qin Village are. I have nothing else to do." Qin Mo didn't know what to say and could only put down the rice and flour. "Aunt Wang, take these back. I saved a portion for you when I bought them." Aunt Wang shyly said, "That's not appropriate. I can't accept that." At the same time, she felt a bit excited. Which boss buys things and brings back a portion for you? The boss is really kind. Just as Qin Mo handed the items to Aunt Wang, Qin Fugua came running to find Qin Mo. He looked around cautiously several times, and seeing no one, he happily handed over a stack of money. "This is what is left," he said. Qin Mo pretended to fiddle with his phone without looking up and waved his hand, saying, "You can keep it. I'm not short on cash. I'm busy negotiating a deal right now." Seeing Qin Mo like this, Qin Fugua said sternly, "Stop that. Just take it. I have money. Why would I want yours?" Qin Mo was caught, and he could only accept the money with a wry smile. "All right, I know you have money. I'll take it then. That's acceptable." Qin Fugua waved his hand. After a moment, he continued, "I'm keeping an eye on your house. The work is progressing quickly. The foundation is already laid, and if the weather holds up over the next few days, I'm telling you, they'll start building the walls soon." He added, "And about the garage, I asked the foreman why there's no garage left. You need to have a garage, otherwise. Where will you park the car?" The activity center has been under construction for several days now. The construction company is very diligent after receiving the payment. Qin Mo was busy everywhere, but he didn't get much attention. Just because he wasn't paying much attention didn't mean the people of Qin Family Village weren't. Now, the elderly liked to go to the laundry room to chat or hang around the construction site. Fortunately, the two places were close together. If you wanted to find someone from Qin Family Village, you could just look there. You could see the construction progress as soon as you entered the village, with a group of elderly folks watching. To be honest, the workers probably felt no pressure at all. Overall, there weren't many issues with the activity center. As for why there was no garage, well, it's an activity center, not a residence. Where would the garage come from? Of course, he couldn't say this directly to Qin Fugua. Qin Mo said, "Hey, just stopping at the entrance is fine. Who needs a garage? I just want a bigger house. The garage doesn't matter. Look at the city, cars just park by the roadside. It's not necessary." Qin Mo chuckled. "I can keep the garage open in the yard. I'll just put up a shed later." Qin Fugua replied, "Let me tell you, I may not have left space for a garage, but I did reserve a landing pad on the roof. I plan to buy a plane and park it up there. In the future, I'll just fly over to visit." Qin Mo successfully made Qin Fugua laugh. "You're really something." After this diversion, Qin Fugua stopped pressing the issue. The people from Qin Family Village were quick to go to town and just as quick to return. By the evening, when the streetlights in the village hadn't even turned on, they were already back. The elderly rarely liked to linger outside, so they hurried home. Lu Jiaming returned with several buckets of water. After parking the car, he began to fill the humidifiers one by one. As for the people from Qin Family Village, they gathered at Qin Mo's doorstep and quickly entered the house. Qin Mo saw their cheerful expressions and chuckled. "You all seem so happy. Did the bank give out gifts for depositing money?" Their joy made Qin Mo happy too. He thought to himself, with just a small amount of money, he had brought such joy to the elders of Qin Family Village. After a while, when the real subsidies came down, these people would be even happier. Hearing Qin Mo's words, Qin Liangping said, "Why wouldn't we be happy? The bank didn't give out gifts, but we have money for the new year, right? Haha. Who would have thought? We were just saying we were out of money, and now look, we got some. The government is great. They give us money every year. In the past, we never had this." The villagers of Qin Family Village commented. Listening to them, Qin Mo smiled. "If you run out of money, just let me know. I have plenty." He joked. "You just had to say something. Luckily, this money came from the government. What if it didn't?" After Qin Mo finished speaking, Qin Huailin said, "Oh, how could we take your money? You've already spent so much on us." We can manage without it. Besides, we just received money. He added humorously. Don't even think about giving us money. If you dare, I'll bury it tomorrow. Exactly. I even know where to bury it. Another elder chimed in. You better not have such thoughts, understand? Chin Mo felt relieved that he had been cautious. Otherwise, if he had just handed out money, the elders would have been upset. At that moment, he didn't dare to say much more, fearing he might slip up. Just then, Grandma Song Chunmei handed him a box. While rummaging through it, she smiled and said, Little Mo, I bought you a pair of shoes in town. See if they fit. Before Chin Mo could respond, Chin Huailin also handed him something. Here, I heard young people chatting in town. They say milk tea is popular now, and a new milk tea shop just opened. I thought you must drink it often in the city, so I bought some for you to try. Just as Chin Huailin finished speaking, he added, Little Mo, try this jacket. You love eating pancakes, right? Eat it while it's hot. I bought it from the vendor who just made them. Hee hee. The beef jerky pairs perfectly with pancakes. Seeing this, you must be craving it. Facing the array of items being handed to him, Chin Mo realized that aside from what was being offered to him, there was nothing else. It was clear that after going to town, the villagers had deposited their money and brought back some items for Chin Mo without spending a dime themselves. Instead, they had bought him a bunch of things. The milk tea, for instance, was something the elders likely wouldn't have bought if it weren't for Chin Mo. The pancakes. What an expensive item. With that money, you could buy quite a few buns. And the beef is pricey too. Why not just buy some pork to make dumplings? Isn't that tastier? However, the elderly couple is still thinking about Chin Mo. You bought so many things, just like I did. These items might not be worth much, but for the elderly couple, there are more economical ways, yet they still spent the money. Chin Mo paused for a moment, then smiled as he accepted the items. While taking them, he said, Oh, I was just saying I needed a pair of shoes. It's getting colder these days. These shoes aren't warm at all. I was saying I needed cotton shoes. Granny Chi, I wear size 42, is that right? I picked a bigger size, one size larger than yours, and wearing a thick pair of socks will fit just fine. Great. Chin Mo responded with a smile. He then took the beef and the flatbreads. I've been craving these for a long time. I thought about them while I was out, but I completely forgot once I came back. Just as I was thinking about them, they arrived. Haha, right? Only you know that this kid loves these. Chin Wenhao laughed heartily. When Chin Mo was little, his third uncle would always take him to the market. The two of them would chat and laugh all the way. Once they arrived in town, his uncle would buy him a flatbread or something to eat, and each time, Chin Mo would be so tempted. Chin Mo then took the jacket. This looks good. If that little girl notices me, I'll wear this. Won't it mesmerize her? Haha, you little rascal. Laughter filled the small courtyard of Chin Mo. He accepted all the items, which delighted the elderly couple. Lu Jiaming watched this scene and felt a wave of emotion. He had taken the villagers from Chin family village to town, and he remembered how they behaved while shopping. The scene was still vivid in his mind. The elderly folks were picky about prices, and when it came time to pay, they quickly pulled out their money. There was a near argument over which shoes looked better. Some said Xiao Mo wouldn't like certain ones, while others insisted he would. Some wanted warmth, while others said not to buy from street vendors. What a sight. Lu Jiaming had never seen such a scene in Chin family village. To be honest, he felt envious. Reflecting on it, he asked, Boss, does your humidifier need water? He was still holding a bucket. Chin Mo waved his hand. No, I can handle this myself. Hearing this, Lu Jiaming said, All right then, I'll head home after work. I've set the air conditioning for them. It's cold today, so I didn't set a timer. I'll come back tomorrow morning to turn it off, and I've also paid the electricity bill. I didn't put too much water in the humidifier. It stops on its own when it's done. Knowing that Chin Mo is attentive to the villagers, Lu Jiaming took care to mention even the small details. Listening to him, Chin Mo nodded appreciatively. All right, thank you for your trouble. The boss, your words are too polite. Being overly polite can feel insincere. After a whole day, is this really troublesome? Don't joke around. If this continues, even the salary might not be stable. It's worth mentioning that after getting a new bed, Chin Mo slept comfortably through the night. When he woke up, he felt revitalized. His comforter was down-filled, and the mattress was made of latex. The comforter was light and cozy, while the latex mattress significantly enhanced his comfort. To be honest, Chin Mo didn't quite understand this before. A bed is just a bed, right? A mattress is just a mattress. He thought that a thicker cotton mattress was no different from those strange mattresses. He couldn't comprehend why a mattress could cost tens of thousands, or why a comforter could also be that expensive. But now, well, he understands. In terms of comfort, the money spent was worth it. Just as Chin Mo got out of bed, he noticed the yard was covered in a blanket of white snow. There was a thick layer. Seeing this scene, he was momentarily stunned. He never expected it to snow. No wonder it was so cold yesterday. Moreover, it was quite a lot of snow. In the yard, the ground was completely hidden beneath it. When he stepped down, the snow reached his ankles, indicating how deep it was. Such thick snow would definitely make those who seldom see snow very happy. Whether building a snowman or having a snowball fight, there were plenty of opportunities for fun. However, seeing the thick snow made Chin Mo a bit worried. While the snow was picturesque, traveling in it was quite inconvenient. At the first opportunity, Chin Mo tidied himself up and went outside. From a distance, he saw someone busy at work, none other than Lu Jianming, who was shoveling snow in Qinjia village. The sound of shoveling snow could be heard from various doors, clearly indicating that everyone was clearing the snow. However, when Chin Mo saw his uncle Sin shoveling snow, he noticed he was being very cautious. At his age, moving slowly was understandable. If he fell, it would be a serious matter. Others, like his Aunt Air, had left a few footprints in front of their door, clearing a small path. It was evident that shoveling snow was somewhat beyond their strength. Chin Mo quickly found a broom and ran over. Hearing the commotion outside, Aunt Air walked to the door and couldn't help but smile when she saw Chin Mo. I heard the sound of shoveling snow. I knew it was you, kid. Chin Mo grinned and said, you stay inside for now, I'll clear the snow. He called out and got to work diligently. By the time he had nearly finished shoveling the yard, a notification sound rang in his mind. Ding! Host rewards the villagers for clearing the ground for Zhu Yue, earning a cash reward of 2,000 yuan. The system is quite generous. Shoveling snow actually earns money. It's only 2,000 for this. If we clear all the snow in Qinjia village, we would make a lot more. However, as soon as he finished, Chin Mo dropped the broom and ran off. For Chin Mo, this was not acceptable. Even with Lu Jianming, we couldn't finish this alone. Just cleaning the entrance is useless if the elderly can't go out. There's snow everywhere outside. It's not safe at all. In an instant, Chin Mo came up with an idea. Chapter 68, Just Buy One. Chin Mo said to Lu Jianming, you've worked hard. Stop sweeping for now. With this thick snow, we'll never finish sweeping it clean. Do you know anyone who operates a snow plow? If so, have one come over and clear the snow in Qinjia village. Lu Jianming looked a bit troubled and replied, I really don't know anyone with a snow plow, and I haven't seen one around here. I also don't know any contractors. Hearing this, Chin Mo felt a bit of a headache. Just then, his phone rang. He took it out to check. It was a call from the construction company. Mr. Chin, we can't continue building for now. The workers won't come today. The temperature is too low for any construction work, whether it's bricklaying or anything else. So your house will have to be put on hold until the temperature rises, said the person from the construction company. With the snow falling, they couldn't continue building. Thankfully, the foundation was already done. Otherwise, it would have been a hassle to deal with half-finished work in such heavy snow. After hearing this, Chin Mo slapped his forehead. All right, no problem. Since it won't be done anytime soon anyway, do you have a snow plow? Finally, he realized he shouldn't have put Lu Jianming in a difficult position looking for one. But there was one readily available. Generally, people don't have snow plows. But a construction company definitely would. As expected, when he asked, the person on the other end of the line said, yes, we have one. Do you need it, Mr. Chin? I can send one over this afternoon. Chin Mo frowned. We have to wait until this afternoon? That's too long. With that time, we could get a few people to clear the snow. He wasn't just anxious. He was worried that if they waited too long, the snow would melt. Qinjia village now has cement roads, but only on the main roads. Some areas in front of and behind the houses are still dirt roads, which become slippery when wet, making it easy for people to slip. Thus, Chin Mo said, can't you come over now? I'm sorry, Mr. Chin, but it's not possible right now. And it takes some time to get from the city to your place, replied the construction company. They were in Danyang City, which is a bit of a distance away. Hearing this, Chin Mo hesitated. Just then, Lu Jianming thought of something and said to Chin Mo, boss, I remember there's a place in the county that rents out snow plows. We can go there and rent one. It's close by. We'll be back in no time. Lu Jianming's suggestion caught Chin Mo off guard. In the next moment, a thought popped into his mind. Is there a place that sells snowplows? Should I buy one? This idea surprised even Chin Mo for a moment. He actually thought about purchasing a snowplow, mainly for clearing snow. Normally, that thing wouldn't be much use. But then he reconsidered. Snow doesn't only fall once. A snowplow doesn't cost much, just tens of thousands. If it snows again, it would be useful anyway. It snows every year. What if it snows again tomorrow? Besides, it could also be used for repairs in Chin family village. Is it a waste? It doesn't seem like a waste at all. It's just a bit extravagant. But, the more you spend, the better the system rewards you. Plus, he wouldn't have to rely on others in the future. Thinking of this, Chin Mo said to the person on the other end of the phone, forget about this afternoon, I won't trouble you anymore. All right. As soon as he hung up the phone, he turned to Lu Jianming and said, you were right. Let us go to the county and buy one. Sure. Lu Jianming was about to follow Chin Mo but paused as soon as he lifted his foot. What? Buy one? Yes. Buying one will save trouble. If it snows again, we won't have to bother anyone. Lu Jianming was stunned by Chin Mo's words. Wow. It's just for clearing snow. You're buying a snowplow? Isn't that a bit too extravagant? Boss, that is not necessary. It only snows a few times a year. But it snows every year, Lu Jiaming insisted, feeling the need to advise his boss. Qin Imo grinned. If there are places in Qin family village that need repairs, this snowplow will come in handy. After a brief pause, he added with a smile, after the new year, I plan to demolish all the houses in Qin family village and rebuild them. Won't the snowplow be useful then? Thinking for a moment, Qin Imo continued, later, let us find someone who sells gravel and have a few truckloads delivered to pave the areas without concrete, like the entrances. After we rebuild the houses next year, I plan to repave the roads in Qin family village. At the very least, we should add a layer of asphalt to avoid mud. Listening to Qin Imo, Lu Jiaming was dumbfounded. He knew his boss was wealthy, but he didn't expect him to be this wealthy. Demolishing and rebuilding the entire village? How much would that cost? Wouldn't that mean every household gets a new house? Lu Jiaming's heart trembled with regret, wishing he was from Qin family village. Otherwise, wouldn't others envy him? In no time, amid Lu Jiaming's envy, Qin Imo pulled him straight to the county. Shortly after, they arrived at the county and found a place that sold snowplows. Qin Imo directly bought a medium-sized snowplow for 90,000. In addition to the snowplow, he also purchased a snow blower, which is essentially a large, powerful blower. For areas the snowplow couldn't clear, using this blower would leave nothing behind. Usually, it can also be used to clean the village's sanitation, blowing away fallen leaves and dust. After taking care of these tasks, Qin Imo found a supplier of gravel and bought several truckloads to be delivered to Qinjia village. Fortunately, there was a loader available, so the gravel could be shoveled with it. Once everything was set up, Lu Jiaming drove the loader back to Qinjia village. Lu Jiaming was indeed capable. He could operate the loader. When the two of them returned to Qinjia village, Lu Jiaming was in front shoveling snow with the loader, while Qin Imo followed behind with a snowblower. In the blink of an eye, the roads in Qinjia village became spotless, with all the accumulated snow pushed to the sides. Each household's entrance was cleared, one by one. Seeing this situation, the villagers exclaimed, wow, little Imo brought in a loader. And it's brand new. What's that? A blower? Amazing, it really blows well. The road is completely clean now. There's not even a bit of water left. Oh, this is much more effective than sweeping. Now we can go out. I thought we wouldn't be able to go out today. No one questioned where Qin Imo got the snow blower and loader. The villagers knew without asking that he must have paid for them. The elders of Qinjia village had gradually gotten used to Qin Mo's way of spending money. Chapter 69. This loader was sent with the gravel I bought. The villagers were accustomed to Qin Mo's spending habits. To them, it just looked like a big blower, and it couldn't have cost much. Compared to other things Qin Imo had done, this was nothing significant. I have to say, the combination of the loader and the snow blower was quite effective. In no time, Qinjia village looked completely renewed. In places where people could travel, there wasn't even a trace of snow left. The roads were much cleaner than before, and people could walk without worrying about slipping. As a result, the villagers of Qinjia village gathered again at the village entrance, just like usual, chatting together. The only difference was the wide expanse of snow-covered land in the distance. I had originally planned to clear the snow myself, but unexpectedly, little Imo had already taken care of it. That kid started working early, probably worried that we would slip. Little Imo is thoughtful. However, speaking of which, we are all older now, and we should pay a bit more attention to our own issues and not trouble little Imo too much. Yes, yes. While the villagers were chatting, a vehicle pulled into Qinjia village, loaded with gravel. This was the gravel Qin Imo had purchased. Upon seeing this, the villagers wondered, what do we need gravel for? Is it for building houses? Qin Imo, noticing their curious questions, explained, you don't need to worry about the gravel for building houses. That's the construction company's responsibility. This is what I bought separately. It's for paving the road. In some places, there are no cement roads, and it can get really muddy. Qin Imo casually mentioned. Listening to him, someone sighed, saying there was no need for that. Isn't that a waste of money? This child, we can just avoid those places. Indeed, the elderly just exchanged a few words and didn't elaborate further, allowing Qin Imo to do as he pleased. Since the purchase was made, there was no way to return it. The elderly were quite clear about that. Once Qin Imo bought something, it was basically non-returnable. They all understood that Qin Imo was well-intentioned. The gravel wasn't worth much anyway. Once the gravel arrived, the loader was put to use. Lu Jiaming operated the loader to spread the gravel in the muddy areas, especially in front of each house. The surface was smooth and well-compacted. Once this was done, Qinjia village no longer had any muddy spots. Not only was there no mud, but even damp areas were nowhere to be seen, making walking much more comfortable. Of course, even though everything looked good now, who could say it wouldn't snow again later? But that was fine, if it snowed again. They could just do it all over. It's worth mentioning that even when the snow melted, there was no need to worry about slippery roads. Any moisture was absorbed by the soil beneath the gravel, so there was no concern about the gravel becoming slick. Safety was ensured. Once all these preparations were completed, Qin Imo finally reaped the rewards. The system's rewards had arrived. In an instant, Several notifications echoed in Qin Mo's mind. The system's prompt was quite pleasant to hear. All the effort put in during the day was not in vain. At that moment, a smile crept onto Qin Mo's face. Soon, as the system notifications concluded, he began to tally his gains. The cost of the gravel he bought was minimal. The system rewarded him with jewelry worth 5 kilograms. Yes, kilograms. The system rewards were calculated by weight. Hearing this unit, Qin Mo was taken aback. Jewelry isn't light, but 5 kilograms is quite valuable. Although he wasn't knowledgeable about jewelry, he understood that the quality of the items rewarded by the system was excellent. In terms of value, these items were hard to estimate. Besides the gemstones, Qin Mo had also bought a snow blower, which earned him hundreds of thousands in cash. A snow blower doesn't cost much, and in terms of value, the system's rewards were multiplied many times over. But that wasn't even the main benefit. The real big deal is the loader. Ding. The host rewards the villagers by purchasing a loader for Qin Family Village. He receives 5 antique artifacts as a reward. 5 pieces of antiques, including 2 pieces of blue and white porcelain. When Qin Mo received this reward, he was momentarily stunned. He wasn't very familiar with the other antiques, but he knew a bit about blue and white porcelain. He heard that these items start at millions in auction houses. The system actually gave him 5 pieces at once. Qin Mo couldn't help but exclaim, wow, what level am I at that I can even afford antiques? At the same time, he had to admit that the system was overly generous. Just these items alone could fetch a significant amount of money. It was hard not to feel a rush of excitement. He couldn't wait for the new year. He was eager to tear down and rebuild Qin Family Village right away. If he demolished and rebuilt the village, what kind of rewards would he get? On Qin Mo's side, he was very excited. Meanwhile, Lu Jiaming had parked the loader and found Qin Mo to hand over the keys. Boss, the vehicle is parked. Here are the keys. Good. Qin Mo took the keys. Normally, this scene wouldn't be anything special, but the elderly villagers were curious about it. Where did Xiao Mo borrow this loader from? Make sure to return it once you're done. Don't waste time. Yes, yes. If you're using someone else's stuff, the longer you keep it, the more you should show some gratitude. This thing must cost money, right? Isn't it charged by the hour? The elderly folks knew a thing or two. They kept urging Qin Mo to return the loader. Although they didn't stop him from spending money, it was clear they preferred to save whenever possible. Money shouldn't be wasted. However, return it? To whom? This loader was bought, not rented. After listening to the elderly villagers, Qin Mo smiled and casually said, this loader doesn't need to be returned. The elderly folks looked puzzled. What do you mean? Qin Mo explained again. You won't believe this, but I bought gravel, and you need something to scoop it up, right? This loader was given to me when I bought the gravel. Chapter 70. We're just old, not foolish. Qin Mo's words left the elderly villagers of Qin Family Village completely bewildered. What? A loader given for buying gravel? The elderly folks were still processing this information. Meanwhile, Lu Jiaming couldn't hold back his laughter. Haha. This made Qin Mo shoot him an annoyed glance. The boss glared, causing Lu Jiaming to retract his neck slightly. At that moment, the elderly villagers also looked at Qin Mo with disapproval. You kid. Third uncle bluntly said to Qin Mo. Are you trying to take advantage of our age to fool us? Who would buy gravel and throw in a shovel? Why not say they're giving you a house? Although the shovel was bought, no one actually gave Qin Mo a house. However, the rewards provided by the system are more powerful than a house. Of course, the elderly folks wouldn't know about these things. At this moment, they were saying, Little Mo, it's not that we are talking about you. We're just old. Not foolish. How can you expect us to believe that? Those 2 trucks of gravel cost only a little. This shovel looks brand new. How could a group of elderly folks not see that? This shovel was purchased by Qin Mo. Consequently, they couldn't help but scold him a bit. Faced with this scolding, Qin Mo humbly accepted it. Yes, yes. I was just joking. In a fleeting moment, he added. The shovel will be useful in the future for leveling out the village and building houses. We will need it later. But they argued. There was no need to buy a shovel specifically. How much did that cost? Oh my goodness. Do you really not care about money? Qin Mo spending money didn't draw any objections from the elderly villagers of Qinjia village. However, unnecessary expenses would raise eyebrows regardless of who it was. Who in their right mind would buy a shovel just to clear some snow? Only Qin Mo would do that. Of course, Qin Mo didn't forget to explain. When it's not in use, we can rent it out. Renting it out won't cost much, and could even earn some money. After hearing Qin Mo's series of explanations, the elderly folks had nothing more to say. They could only respond, all right, you've already bought it. Little Mo has a point. If it can be rented out, it's an investment. After all, he doesn't lack money. It's not a waste. At least it's an asset. Once this was said, the matter of the shovel was settled. But soon, they realized that it wasn't just any item. Knowing it was their own, they thought about how the shovel had been used all day and was now covered in mud. I'll find a cloth to wipe it down. The new shovel is already dirty. The wheels are too filthy. I'll go get a hose. The elderly folks of Qinjia village stopped focusing on Qin Imo. However, just like when a government vehicle is first bought, they began to fuss over the shovel. They were busy cleaning it, wanting to make it look nice. After all, it was their own item. Though it was unnecessary, seeing this situation, Qin Imo didn't stop them. It was a way to keep the elderly folks engaged and active. While the elderly folks weren't bothering Qin Imo anymore, it didn't mean he would be idle. He couldn't help but start thinking about what to do for Qinjia village in return. After all, the rewards from the system are indeed tempting. However, at that moment, Qin Imo couldn't think of anything good. He was just wandering around the village, with Lu Jianming aimlessly following behind him. After a while, Qin Imo still hadn't thought of anything beneficial and couldn't help but ask Lu Jianming, "What do you think our village is still lacking?" As soon as Qin Imo said this, Lu Jianming understood what he meant. It was about spending money. He couldn't help but marvel at how wealthy his boss was. Not only was he rich, but he was also willing to spend. After doing so much for the village, he was still eager to find ways to invest. Lu Jianming couldn't help but feel impressed. After a moment of reflection, he looked around. Qin family village had streetlights and everything else it needed. Apart from the houses, the environment of that village couldn't compare to Qin family village. There was no running water. But Qin Imo had already taken care of that. After looking around, Lu Jianming smiled and said, "Boss, I don't think the houses in your village are that great. Why not just tear them down and rebuild?" He said this half-jokingly. However, after he spoke, he saw Qin Mo's serious expression. "It's too late before the new year. We won't have time. Otherwise, we won't have a place to stay during the festival." Hearing this, Lu Jianming was momentarily stunned. Wow, he really meant it. He actually planned to go through with it. Lu Jianming was completely taken aback. If such a large village were to be rebuilt, how much would that cost? Other expenses could be managed, but building houses was no small expenditure. Did Qin Imo really intend to do this? Unable to hold back, Lu Jianming blurted out, "Boss, if I move my household registration to your village, will it still be possible?" He was sincere about it. Goodness, they were actually building houses. This was simply too good to be true. Qin Imo smiled and replied, "That might not be possible. There is nothing for you here in Qin family village." Qin family village was a natural village. What is a natural village? It is a settlement formed naturally. Although there were no clan genealogies left in the village, its formation was due to clan reasons. To put it simply, there were no outsiders in Qin family village. Most families had been there for several generations, all coming from the same lineage. It wasn't formed by migration. Even if someone were to settle in Qin family village, they would have nothing. They wouldn't even be allowed to farm. Lu Jianming naturally understood this. Listening to Qin Imo, he immediately laughed and said, "With a boss like you, your village must be the envy of many." After a pause, Lu Jianming thought of something and quickly said to Qin Imo, "Boss, it's definitely too late to build houses before the new year. How about installing some surveillance cameras in the village? With cameras, it would be safer. Your village is mostly elderly people, which prevents any unwanted attention. And even if something unexpected happens, we can check the footage to see what happened." As soon as Lu Jianming said this, Qin Mo's eyes lit up. It was indeed necessary to install surveillance in Qin family village. Without hesitation, Qin Imo exclaimed, "Great idea." After saying that, he eagerly added, "Let us go. Let us head to the county and ask about installing surveillance while it's still not too late." His actions were swift and decisive. All right, Lu Jianming quickly agreed. Chapter 71. Can I still modify my plans? Lu Jianming followed Qin Imo to the county. Qin Imo was not very familiar with the county, but Lu Jianming knew it very well. He quickly led Qin Imo to the location for installing the surveillance cameras. Qin Imo initially thought that installing surveillance was a simple task. However, after learning more, he realized it was actually quite troublesome. It wasn't just a matter of putting up a camera and running a wire. Fortunately, even though it was complicated, it wasn't a big problem for Qin Imo. Was there any problem that money couldn't solve? After spending a certain amount of money, the difficulties of installation were resolved. It is worth mentioning that there are currently two popular types of surveillance systems. One is the outdoor type that connects to a control room for video storage, and the other has internet functionality, allowing for remote viewing online. Each has its advantages and disadvantages. However, for convenience, having a dedicated control room is essential. But a control room requires a separate space for installation. Interestingly, after hearing all this from the seller, Qin Imo was inspired. If he was going to create a control room, why not make it larger? It could serve as both a control room and a security booth. The surveillance footage could be viewed inside, and if a security guard were hired, the safety of Qin family village would be greatly enhanced. Any issues in the village could be detected immediately. Wouldn't this be better than just installing surveillance cameras? As soon as this idea popped into Qin Mo's mind, he couldn't help but feel eager to implement it. He was almost ready to set it up right away and hire a few security guards for Qin family village. As for having security in a residential area, that was understandable, but in a village, was it appropriate? This question didn't even cross Qin Mo's mind. Whether it was appropriate depended entirely on financial resources. With enough money, hiring security in the village was feasible. Even if Qin Mo had bodyguards, it would be quite fitting. Moreover, although the current social environment is good and there are generally no security issues, especially at night when the village is completely deserted, there's no rule that says security guards must only handle security issues. If something were to happen in Qin Family Village, the security could also help manage the situation and detect issues in a timely manner. When considered this way, how could it be deemed inappropriate? Qin Mo even thought to himself, I'm doing this for the sake of the villagers. After all, they were getting older. If an unexpected incident were to occur, having someone present could make all the difference. Speaking of which, once Qin Mo's thoughts started to flow, they simply wouldn't stop. He first thought of the security guards, but then realized that with security guards in place, other aspects of Qin Family Village also needed to be addressed. Let's focus on aligning with the property management companies in the city. A residential community typically has security guards, cleaners, and even property management services. The security personnel are responsible for safety, the cleaning staff handle sanitation issues, and the property management oversees repairs and other concerns, ensuring the basic needs of the community are met. If I manage to equip everything properly, at this moment, Qin Mo is truly excited. Not only will the sanitation of Qin Family Village be taken care of, but if anyone has a broken light bulb or a leaking roof, all those issues will also be managed at once. Qin Mo won't have to worry about these matters and can earn system rewards while providing significant help to Qin Family Village. At this moment, Qin Mo simply cannot hold back. Let's set up the server room. Great. Hearing Qin Mo's words, the surveillance equipment seller couldn't help but smile. The investment in the server room is considerable, and he would make a bit more profit from this deal. Lu Jianming, listening to Qin Mo, couldn't help but feel emotional. While it's common for villages to install surveillance, having a server room is something unique to Qin Family Village. Although money is being made, the surveillance seller is quite responsible and asks Qin Mo if he has a suitable location for the server room. A dedicated space is necessary. After pondering, Qin Mo realizes that there isn't a suitable place in Qin Family Village for a server room. They don't even have buildings, so where can they find such a space? The old irrigation station, now a laundry room, might work well, especially since it's located at the village entrance. However, they can't just relocate the laundry room, and there isn't anywhere else to move it. But facing this situation, Qin Mo has a plan. It's simple if there are no buildings. I can buy a ready-made container house or similar structure to use temporarily. Once the new building is finished, we can move it. Upon hearing this, the surveillance seller responds, as long as there's a place to put it, that's fine. He isn't too concerned about the temporary setup. Making money is what matters. Qin Mo feels somewhat fortunate. When he was communicating with the construction company about building an activity center for the village, he insisted it should be larger. He considered supermarkets and various functionalities. Therefore, to save space, he made the activity center bigger, without reserving areas for parking or other facilities. This led to the activity center being not only spacious, but also having plenty of floors once it was completed. At the time, he thought that wasting space wouldn't be a problem. Now it seems like a wise decision. That extra space is being put to good use now. Thinking about it, if property management comes to Qin Family Village, whether for security or other services, they will need a dining area, right? There should be a cafeteria. And a place to stay is necessary too, right? They need dormitories. In addition to the current server room, the supermarket and entertainment center should have the necessary activity facilities and scenes. By the way, we can also add a clinic. This way, the villagers in Qin Family Village can visit the doctor more conveniently for minor ailments. When you think about it, the originally spacious activity center is now gradually becoming cramped. After Qin Mo discussed with the surveillance vendor, he left with Lu Jianming. Lu Jianming asked, "Boss, are we heading back to the village now?" But Qin Mo replied, "No, we're going to the city to find the construction company that's building our activity center." Lu Jianming was unsure why Qin Mo wanted to find the construction company. With the snow falling, work couldn't continue. Was he dissatisfied and looking to settle accounts? However, he didn't ask further and followed Qin Mo to Danyang City. Soon, Qin Mo found the construction company and expressed his intentions. Can we still modify the blueprints for the activity center? Chapter 72. Enough, enough, enough. Blueprints cannot be altered at will, especially since the foundation has already been laid. This is not something that can be casually changed. Fortunately, the person in charge of the construction company quickly understood Qin Mo's purpose, increasing the budget. So it turns out it was about adding money. Then everything is negotiable. After learning about Qin Mo's thoughts, the construction company representative promptly provided a plan. Mr. Qin, we can still make modifications. The foundation is done, but it's not a hassle. We have two options, either expand the area or increase the building height. We can build higher, larger, or both. In light of these three options, Qin Mo wisely chose the latter, which led to an immediate expansion of the building's scale. Of course, even with the additional budget, Qin Mo expressed his requirements. The first floor must meet the basic space requirements for the activity center. Additionally, space for a clinic and a supermarket should be reserved. The reason Qin Mo made such requests was simple. Although the activity center was already large enough, he didn't want the villagers from Qin Family Village to have to go upstairs. It wasn't about limiting their activity space. It was primarily for the older villagers. Qin Mo didn't want the elderly to have to climb stairs just to enjoy the activity center, whether for recreation, shopping, or medical needs. Hearing Qin Mo's words, the construction company personnel quickly responded, Mr. Qin, most of the main projects are on the first floor. The required space is indeed quite large. If you find it inconvenient, you could actually consider adding an elevator. With an elevator, these issues would be resolved. Although elevators can also have accidents, people can trip on flat ground too. Being thorough in consideration is good, but one shouldn't overthink things. The construction site manager's suggestion suddenly enlightened Qin Mo. He hadn't thought of this before. After all, in the countryside, who has elevators? But now that the construction company mentioned it, Qin Mo's thoughts opened up. Following the busy discussions, the decision was made to install an elevator. With the installation of the elevator, the space in the activity center would be significantly larger, especially to the extent that a supermarket could be placed on the second floor. The entire floor would be dedicated to the supermarket. Initially, Qin Mo intended to set up a small supermarket to meet the basic needs of the elderly in Qin Village. However, since things were progressing this way, he decided to expand the plan further and create a proper supermarket. This way, people from the surrounding villages might also come to Qin Village, making it even livelier. As for the clinic, it would be on the first floor and larger as well. Additionally, a cafeteria would also be located on the first floor. Qin Mo was increasingly excited as he discussed these ideas, trying to negotiate with the head of the construction company as much as possible at that moment. In the end, the discussions resulted in plans for separate dormitories, bathrooms, and various entertainment and activity areas. There would even be some reserved spaces. As for the construction company personnel, Lu Jiaming wasn't entirely sure how they would handle it, but just listening to Qin Mo's words left him astonished. Based on Qin Mo's requirements, just the budget alone would skyrocket. Sure enough, the construction company personnel calculated roughly according to Qin Mo's demands. The total came to 3 million, including soft furnishings, which increased the budget by another 3 million. With the original budget of 2 million, the cost of this activity center had already reached 5 million. Of course, given Qin Mo's requirements and facilities, it was no longer appropriate to call it an activity center. It was essentially a comprehensive building. This result made Lu Jianming gasp in amazement. After all, 5 million was a sum he had never earned in his lifetime, yet it was casually spent by Qin Mo. By the time Qin Mo and Lu Jianming left the construction company, Lu Jianming still felt a bit dazed. Once he regained his composure, he thought, the boss is really generous. This is quite a lot to spend on the village. But that's good. If he is this generous to the village, he must be generous to us too. Working for such a boss is great. On the way back, as Lu Jianming drove, he glanced at Qin Mo in the rearview mirror several times, noticing his hesitation to speak. Seeing this, Qin Mo couldn't help but chuckle and asked, stop looking. If you have any questions, just ask. Lu Jianming felt a bit embarrassed, but quickly responded, boss, if the building is completed, can I stay in the dormitory? His family lived in the town, but it was quite cramped with many family members, especially since both of his sons were married. Moreover, according to Qin Mo's standards, the dormitory conditions were excellent. It had heating, air conditioning, even private bathrooms, and a cafeteria for meals, conditions that couldn't be matched at home. Even though the building hadn't been completed yet, Lu Jianming was already envious. Qin Mo initially thought that Lu Jianming had something important to discuss. It turns out this is all there is. He laughed and said, sure, if you want to stay, then stay. What is the big deal? The dormitory is meant for you all anyway. Besides, there are plenty of dormitories available. Not to mention Lu Jianming. Even if everyone from Qin Family Village wanted their own room, there would still be enough to go around. Qin Mo has already arranged the salaries. Why worry about accommodation? He readily agreed. Hearing this, Lu Jianming was beyond excited. That's great. I can't wait to see this building completed. His enthusiasm for work surged again, and he even thought, once I move into the dormitory, who cares about working hours? As long as the boss needs me, I'll be there whenever called. From now on, I'll be a permanent resident of Qin Family Village. Qin Mo quickly took Lu Jianming back to the village. The installation of the surveillance cameras was scheduled for the next day, along with the equipment setup. But that wasn't the main concern. The key issue was that after communicating with the construction company, the building area needed to be expanded. This matter had to be discussed with Qin Fugua. The village committee's approval was essential, and fortunately, in Qin Family Village, there wasn't much that could be refused. When Qin Mo approached Qin Fugua about the expansion, Qin Fugua was quite excited. The place you're building on ISNT farmland, and it belongs to our village collectively. Build as big as you want. If you're worried about the land use, I can arrange a lease contract for you. Tomorrow, I'll get your third uncle and the others to sign. You can use the land as you please. Qin Fuguo was glowing with happiness after saying this. He even thought it wasn't enough and asked Qin Imo, if that is not enough for you, we have plenty of idle land in the village. It's just not connected, which is a hassle. Qin Imo wanted a bigger house, and this made it impossible for Qin Fuguo not to be thrilled. A bigger house means more prestige and success. Qin Mo's achievements brought pride to everyone in Qin family village. However, Qin Fuguo's excitement made Qin Imo feel a little guilty. At this point, Qin Fuguo still thought that Qin Imo was building a house for himself. Qin Imo quickly said, that's enough. 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 Chapter 73. The surveillance is just the beginning. Enough? Is this really enough? Qin Fuguo felt a bit unsatisfied with Qin Mo's words. This is just the beginning. There is so much more land in Qin family village. Qin Fuguo even hoped that Qin Imo would directly build a manor. Of course, building a manor wasn't feasible due to legal restrictions on land area. However, little did he know that if Qin Imo truly decided to go ahead with it, the older villagers would surely sign off on it, and it might actually happen. Thus, after just a few words from Qin Imo, the area for the activity center was once again expanded. After leaving Qin Fuguo's house, Qin Imo immediately called the construction company to inform them of the updates. Knowing the result, the construction company would have to come back the next day. The building scale had changed, and the blueprints would need to be redesigned as well. Fortunately, the foundation laid earlier was up to high standards and completely met the requirements. We only need to make some additions to the original blueprints. So there is no need to demolish and rebuild the foundation. After hanging up the phone, Lu Jiaming couldn't help but feel envious of Qin Imo boss. Your village is really great. You can use the land as you wish. As long as it's farmland and not damaged, you can use it however you want. And no one says anything. You can build as big a house as you want. I'm so jealous. Qin Imo is wealthy. So Lu Jiaming didn't feel envious of that. He just thought the boss was great and impressive. However, regarding the land, he was indeed extremely envious. There is a reason for Lu Jiaming's envy. His family lives in town, with neighbors close together. Their home is only the size of a single room. No matter how tall the house is, the area remains small. Even if Lu Jiaming wanted to build a bigger house, it was impossible. He has 2 sons. With no other choice, he had to buy a house and work hard to afford it. He couldn't help but wish he were from the village, having his own land. Unfortunately, that is something he could only envy. However, Qin Imo couldn't help but smile at Lu Jiaming's words and then said, what is there to be envious about? You should see the situation in our village. Lucky for me, I've earned money to help the village. In the past, there wasn't much to envy. I used to envy people in town. Everything is easier for them than for those in the village. Qin Imo was speaking the truth. People in towns envy those in the countryside, and those in the countryside also envy people in towns. Unless someone is doing quite well, both sides have their pain points. The next morning, the person responsible for installing the surveillance system arrived at Qin's village. He wasn't there to install the cameras directly, but to do an initial assessment. After that, he could provide a rough plan for the layout and other aspects of the surveillance system. Qin's village is neither too big nor too small. Qin Imo showed the installer around. Upon seeing the situation in the village, the installer remarked, boss, your village is quite convenient. I can see that the cameras can be installed directly on the streetlight poles, no need for separate poles, with coverage on the main road and all 4 corners. There won't be any blind spots, and you'll be able to see everything clearly in the village. This was exactly the effect Qin Imo wanted. So he nodded in agreement. Let us go with your plan. When can you install it? Hearing this, the installer replied, I'll come back this afternoon, and it will be installed in 2 or 3 days. But as for the server room location, Qin Imo said, let us place it at the village entrance. Just leave the cables long enough for future relocation. I'll buy a temporary prefabricated house to serve as the server room for now. Great. The installer readily agreed. Just as he left, the elderly residents of Qin's village curiously gathered around. When the villagers of Qin family village saw Qin Imo wandering around with a stranger, they already had a good idea of what was going on. Xiao Imo must be spending money again. This kid is definitely going to spend. They didn't know exactly what it was for, but it was obvious. If it weren't for spending money, would anyone come to this place in Qin family village? The elderly in the village had nothing much to say about Qin Mo's spending. As long as it wasn't too outrageous, they would just pretend not to see it. After all, how could they stop him? Of course, pretending not to see it didn't mean they weren't curious. Xiao Imo, what are you planning to do this time? What about the person who just left? What do you intend to do in our village? Seeing the curious eyes, Qin Imo smiled and said, that person is here to install surveillance cameras. I thought we could set up some cameras in our village so we can know if anything happens in the future. It will also ensure the safety of our village. Surveillance? You mean cameras? Oh, closed-circuit television. The elderly suddenly understood. They didn't react immediately when he mentioned surveillance, but now it made sense. Hearing Qin Imo say this, the villagers expressed their thoughts. Oh, I was wondering what it was. Installing surveillance? That is fine. Actually, it's not necessary, but if you want to do it, go ahead. Having cameras does enhance safety. I heard that someone's house was robbed in the neighboring village a few days ago. Although there is not much valuable in our village, Xiao Mo is doing well now. Who knows if someone might take notice? Installing them is fine. Surveillance is good. Very good. The villagers chimed in, each expressing their opinions. How much could it cost to install surveillance? Compared to other expenses, it's nothing. The elderly didn't think the cameras would be too expensive. Besides, they considered Qin Mo's interests as well. So, after just a few exchanges, they strongly supported the idea. However, one could only say that the elderly were quite naive. They had no idea that installing surveillance was just the beginning. Qin Mo had much more planned. He didn't chat with the elderly for long. In no time, he took Lu Jiaming to the county. The villagers from Qin family village hadn't shown much enthusiasm for going to the town these past few days. Lu Jiaming was free, so he drove for Qin Mo, mainly because he was somewhat familiar with the county. Upon arriving in the county, Qin Mo directly found a place selling temporary houses. He thought they only sold temporary houses. Little did he know, they sold everything: security booths, cabins, and even light steel structures. They had everything you could want. They even had prefabricated villas. This meant that if you wanted a house, they could assemble it for you in a short time. Upon seeing this, Qin Mo really opened his eyes. Chapter 74. Recruiting people. Not only that, but the owner of the place selling these said, as long as you prepare the foundation, we can assemble a villa for you in 2 days. Who still builds houses slowly these days? This is a trend abroad. Qin Mo had no objections to the owner's first statement. As for the subsequent remarks, he just listened. These prefabricated assemblies are indeed convenient, but in terms of quality, they still fall short. Otherwise, there would be no need to go through the trouble of building an activity center. They could simply assemble it. However, it did save Qin Mo quite a bit of hassle. So much so that he directly bought a modular room to serve as a control room, along with a few security booths. Those sturdy booths were just the right size. Once everything was purchased, it was all set. He initially thought the delivery would take some time, but unexpectedly, the owner was perhaps idle and immediately called a truck to deliver the goods directly to the village, even including installation. This made things even more convenient. Upon returning to the village, these items were placed in suitable locations, and suddenly, Qinjia village had several new spots. A few security booths, plus a control room. The architecture of Qinjia village was increasing. Just as the seller of the modular room was leaving, the elderly residents of the village gathered around. They were curious about what was going on. For the villagers, it was only natural to ask about this new addition. Even Qin Fu spoke up, Xiao Mo, what is this room for? How did you get this? Hearing this, Qin Mo replied, it's a control room. It's for the surveillance system. You need a place to monitor the cameras, right? This is the control room. Upon hearing this, the elderly residents understood. Oh, I see. That's why there's this room. I was wondering how it could be for living in. After all this time, it's not for living. They could understand the idea of a control room, but they were puzzled about the purpose of the security booths. Yeah, what are those for? I thought the first room was big enough, but this one is too small and surrounded by glass. Listening to their comments, Qin Mo smiled and explained, well, a control room is valuable. Someone needs to keep an eye on it. So I got a security booth specifically for watching over the control room. We wouldn't want anything to go missing. That would be troublesome and heartbreaking. Once Qin Mo finished speaking, the villagers exclaimed, oh, so that's how it is. It really does need someone to watch over it. Yes, we can't afford to lose anything. The surveillance equipment is quite valuable. However, the villagers still had questions. They couldn't understand why there were 3 or 4 booths at several intersections in the village. Upon hearing this, Qin Mo laughed again. Well, if I buy one, I might as well buy 2. The main thing is they were on sale, so I bought a couple more. Before the elderly residents could ask who would watch the control room, Qin Mo quickly added, by the way, I have something else to attend to. You all are busy, Third Master. After saying this, Qin Mo dashed off. As he watched Qin Mo's departing figure, the old men, including Third Master, continued to murmur. This kid ran off without even finishing his words. He hasn't even mentioned who is watching. As soon as Third Master finished speaking, Qin Huailin chimed in. Is there even a need to ask? There are so many idle people in our village. Can't you see that I'm watching? Right. We're all just idling here. Who's watching isn't really a big deal. There's nothing else. Our village is just full of idle folks, right? Hearing this, Third Master grinned. It's true. After saying this, he became interested. This little house must be warm inside. Let me take a look. Saying that, he opened the security booth and went for a stroll inside. The security booth hasn't even been fully set up yet. It still lacks some items. At the very least, it needs to be powered. Plus, an air conditioner needs to be installed. Only then can it be considered complete. Of course, a security booth is only useful if there are security personnel. Without security, what good is just having a booth? Qin Mo needs to focus on hiring people first. The position he is hiring for is none other than security personnel. The old men, including Third Master, didn't he realize that Qin Mo's intentions were quite different from what they thought? They assumed the security booth was prepared for them, when in fact, Qin Mo was genuinely looking for security staff. Hiring people is a troublesome task. The reason for saying that is finding suitable candidates is a challenge, especially in the countryside. Qin Mo initially had a good solution. He thought of it while he was in the city yesterday. That was to directly find a property management company. Then, negotiate with the company to send people to Qin Family Village. However, later Lu Jiaming pointed out that it would be better to find someone himself. Think about it, boss. This is in the village, while the property management company is in the city. If there's an issue with security or something, communication with a third party would be necessary. If he hires directly, he can just dismiss anyone who isn't suitable on the spot. At that moment, Qin Mo found this reasoning to be quite valid. His thoughts were once again expanded. Not only could he hire people himself, but in the future, he could also develop and establish a property management company. He could use his own resources, which would be more worry-free, right? Thus, at this point, Qin Mo had to hire people himself. Fortunately, he had some contacts. When old Lu leaves, he can call the people he recommended, and we can go take a look. By the way, let us also visit Wang Family Village. Qin Mo informed Aunt Wang in advance, asking her to check with her husband, who is the village head of Wang Family Village, to help find someone suitable for security and women willing to do cleaning work. Aunt Wang readily agreed. Uncle Wang was also very proactive. The candidates were there, but Qin Mo had to review them first. That is how the current situation arose. The two candidates introduced by Lu Jiaming, according to his words, are well acquainted. They are both from the town and middle-aged. One has been divorced for many years and is still unmarried. He is currently studying at a university in another city and is looking for a job, usually helping out at construction sites. He is honest. There was another person who originally did business on the street but suffered losses. Now he is working everywhere. Lu Jiaming took Qin Mo to meet these two individuals and even mentioned to Qin Mo there were originally two more, but those two had poor character. One liked to drink, and the other liked to play cards. The card-playing one even caused his wife to leave. They knew I was looking to introduce work and came to ask me for a recommendation, but I didn't agree. Lu Jiaming took the matters he discussed with Qin Mo very seriously. In his view, with such a good boss giving him these tasks, if he messed it up, he would really lose face. Chapter 75. Forget about this. The people Lu Jiaming introduced were very reliable, and one could even say they were quite considerate. When Qin Mo met these two, he briefly chatted with them and found them to be very humble. While one shouldn't judge a person solely based on one aspect, Qin Mo was still quite satisfied with their demeanor. Moreover, Qin Mo was not looking to make friends. He was just hiring two security guards. He was very pleased with these two individuals. In a flash, he mentioned the compensation, allowing them to consider if it was suitable. The salary was 500, with 5 insurances and 1 fund. Meals were provided, and once the housing was built, accommodation could also be included. The salary Qin Mo offered was not particularly high, but also not low. In the countryside, it was different from the city. Even in the city, many security guards only earn 2,000 to 3,000 a month. Furthermore, in addition to the base salary, Qin Mo provided other benefits. All things considered, this was already quite good. Of course, Qin Mo was not short on money. With the system in place, small amounts were nothing to him. He could offer a higher salary if necessary, but there was no real need for that. This was already quite decent. One shouldn't just raise the salary to show off wealth. That would not be hiring employees. That would be raising dependents. Moreover, Qin Mo was clear about the distinction between these matters. When he stated the compensation, the two exchanged glances and nodded without hesitation. Where else could they find such a job near their home, especially with meals provided at no cost? Additionally, there were even 5 insurances and 1 fund. This job not only allowed them to earn money, but also took care of their families. Such a great opportunity was hard to find, even with a lantern. How could they possibly refuse? Seeing that both agreed, Qin Mo smiled and said to them, "Then you can come to work tomorrow. As for the contract, I've registered the company, and once the documents are ready, we can sign the contract." This was the same explanation as Lu Jiaming had given before. The two also agreed. After meeting with the two individuals Lu Jiaming found, Qin Mo quickly headed to Wangjia village. The village head had already called Qin Mo earlier. After Aunt Wang spoke to Wang Lijun, he had found several people, just waiting for Qin Mo to come and take a look. It wasn't surprising that Wang Lijun was so proactive. The first thing is that the title Wang Shu is not given for nothing. Secondly, last time Qin Mo had quite a lot of items brought home by Wang's wife. It's hard to find such a good boss, having his own wife work for others. Lastly, both sides have connections. He helps others find jobs, and in return, they owe him a favor. He helps Qin Mo find people, and Qin Mo owes him a favor as well. It's only reasonable to be proactive in this situation. When Qin Mo arrived at Wangjia village, he met the people Wang Lijun had sent over. Among them were 2 men, both in their 30s or 40s. They were also candidates for the security positions. Without waiting for them to introduce themselves, Wang Lijun explained the situation. These are all our own people, familiar faces. They used to work away from home, but now they have things to take care of and can't leave. They plan to look for work nearby. One of them stayed home to take care of the elderly, while the other had been driving and hauling bricks for others. The work was too strenuous, so he quit. Wang Lijun recommended them. Both were from Wangjia village. In Wang Lijun's words, if they're not from our village, I want to introduce them to you. We can't trust outsiders. Wangjia village is officially called Qianwang village, but people usually refer to it as Wangjia village. The two names refer to the same place, not anywhere else. Wang Lijun's words were pleasing, and Qin Mo was satisfied. He outlined the basic salary and benefits, and both men had no objections. They expressed, boss, can we start work tomorrow? Sure, just come over directly tomorrow. All right. They agreed, which meant Qin Mo had effectively found 4 security personnel. However, Qin Mo felt this was still insufficient and planned to find 2 more. He aimed to have at least 6 security guards. Then, with 2 people per shift, rotating in 3 shifts, they could keep an eye on things, whether during the day or at night. Unlike a residential community where there are gates to control access, a village is entirely open. Even though there are only a few roads leading into the village, one can enter from various paths. Therefore, Qin Mo decided on having 2 people per shift to ensure tighter security. Of course, aside from this consideration, Qin Mo was also thinking about the security personnel's well-being. Although Qin Family Village has streetlights and is well lit at night, it can be eerily quiet just like any other village. There wouldn't even be a dog in sight. The surrounding area is pitch dark, and those who aren't very courageous might feel scared at night. Having 2 people means they can keep each other company. When Qin Mo shared this with Wang Lijun patted his chest and said, leave it to me. I'll find you 2 more people, and I'll make sure they meet your previous requirements. Wang Lijun took on the responsibility wholeheartedly. Aside from the 2 security guards, Qin Mo also met 3 women. These were arranged by a certain individual to handle cleaning duties. One was from the nearby village, and the other 2 were from other villages. Qin Mo had low expectations for the cleaners. As long as they were diligent, that was enough. Their working hours were just 8 hours. Mainly responsible for the sanitation issues in Qinjia village. There were no other requirements. Of course, the salary for the cleaners was set to be slightly lower than that of the security guards. Other than that, the roles were quite similar. With the addition of the cleaners, the staffing in Qinjia village was essentially complete, and they had all agreed to start work the next day. Qin Mo was quite satisfied with the outcome and turned to Lu Jiaming, saying, let us head back. Sure, Lu Jiaming replied, but then asked Qin Mo, boss, don't we still need something? What do you mean? Qin Mo was puzzled. What else could they need? Although they were still short 2 security guards, it wasn't a big issue. Lu Jiaming then pointed out, are you planning to have them come to work directly tomorrow? Don't the security guards need uniforms, rubber batons, and flashlights? And the cleaners need brooms and dustpans, right? Have you prepared all that? Upon hearing this, Qin Mo realized, oh no, I forgot about that. Chapter 76. How can one foresee the future? While they had managed to hire the staff, they hadn't purchased the necessary equipment. It was no wonder he felt something was off. He hadn't thought of it until now. So, Qin Mo quickly said, let us go. We need to buy these things. They are essential. Since they had planned to head back, Qin Mo took Lu Jiaming to the county. Brooms and such were easy to buy, but labor protection supplies like security uniforms were not available in the town. After a trip to the county, by the time they returned, it was already quite late. The lights in Qinjia village were just coming on, and the elderly figures were no longer visible outside. Fortunately, they had managed to buy everything, so it wouldn't delay the new hires from using them when they came to work the next day. In the blink of an eye, when Qin Mo got up, the new hires had already come to work. They were waiting for him at the village entrance. As Qin Mo hurried over, he heard voices. Hey, ladies, what are you doing in our village? Hey, guys, what are you doing here? Oh, cleaning? Just doing some sanitation? What? Security? The elderly had woken up early, as they tended to sleep less. Even before the streetlights were turned off, the elderly in Qin Family Village were already up. Several newcomers had arrived in the village, and since the elderly didn't recognize them, they couldn't help but strike up a conversation. This conversation turned out to be quite significant. It turned out that all these people were hired by Qin Mo to work in Qin Family Village, serving as security and cleaning staff. This certainly caught the attention of the elderly. Although they didn't directly say it in front of the newcomers, they couldn't help but whisper among themselves. Third brother, didn't you say we were just looking after the server room? Why do we need security? Hey, what else there to say? I thought we were handling the server room ourselves. Who knew that Xiao Mo was still hiring people? And hiring was one thing, but there were 7 of them. It was one thing to have security, but why was there cleaning staff too? This kid, you're hiring people, but you have to pay them, right? How much will that cost? The elderly folks of Qin Family Village were truly bewildered. When they spotted Qin Mo from a distance, Qin Huai and a few others quickly approached him. They glanced back at the newcomers standing far away and hurriedly gathered around Qin Mo, asking, Xiao Mo, what is going on? Why did you hire cleaning and security staff? We don't need this in the countryside, do we? If you need someone to look after the server room, isn't it enough for me and third uncle to do it? Qin Mo had anticipated this reaction. With a smile, he replied, the stuff in the server room needs to be monitored 24 hours a day. What if something goes missing? It's very valuable. I can just have you and third uncle take shifts. Qin Huailing quickly interjected, we can do that. Upon hearing this, Qin Mo responded, you're all at such an age. How can you stay up all night? Hey, that is not an issue. I don't even sleep at night. That is still not okay. Thieves are usually strong and fit. If someone really tries to break into the server room, can you stop them? Qin Mo's words immediately left the elderly speechless. It was true. At their age, even if they encountered a thief, could they really do anything? If a thief found someone there, who knows what might happen? If the thief pushed them while fleeing, could they handle it at their age? In reality, Qin Mo was exaggerating the situation. To him, the server room seemed invaluable, and he painted the security situation in Qin Family Village as precarious. In fact, while thefts occasionally happened in nearby villages, Qin Family Village had surveillance in place. Even if a thief had their eye on it, they would have to think twice. Besides, who would steal from a server room? If they were going to steal, wouldn't they target cash? Or at the very least, livestock? Fortunately, Qin Mo's shift in perspective left the villagers unable to react. Even after Qin Mo made his statement, Qin Huai still felt a bit unconvinced, saying, can't we just hire one person? Find someone to watch at night, and we'll keep an eye during the day, Qin Mo said. Finding one is fine, but I think we should find a couple more for safety. They can patrol our village and help with other tasks. Then just hire security. Someone interjected. What does hiring cleaning staff have to do with it? I figured if we're hiring security, a few more people won't hurt. Hiring a few ladies for cleaning won't cost much and can improve the sanitation in our village. You'll help with sanitation too. Qin Mo's words caught everyone's attention. Qin Huai was losing his patience. With a sigh, he said, oh my child. He seemed to recall something and quickly added, wait, you're mixing things up. Are you trying to stack tasks like Russian dolls? Qin Huai's words left Qin Huaiwen confused. What do you mean? Qin Huai hurriedly explained. We agreed to install some surveillance cameras, and then suddenly there's a whole control room. If there's a control room, someone has to monitor it. So we end up hiring security. And now you're counting cleaning staff too. How is this not stacking tasks? Qin Mo found this amusing. Wow. Is this a rhyme you're making? Indeed, the elders didn't share Qin Mo's perspective. After hearing Qin Huai's words, they realized the situation. Isn't that right? We agreed to install cameras for safety, and now we're hiring security and cleaning staff. As Qin Liangping would say, you're aiming high. The villagers of Qin Family Village had no objections to Qin Mo spending money. However, they felt it was unnecessary. Even Grandma Song Chunmei couldn't help but comment. Good thing you haven't made that much money yet, or I would have asked you to replace my roof. Wouldn't you end up tearing my house down to rebuild it? Grandma Song's words were not very friendly, but Qin Mo felt a bit guilty. He had indeed considered that plan, even to the extent of demolishing the entire Qin Family Village. But for now, he quickly replied, no, we can't tear down houses. That would be ridiculous. Though he said that, Qin Mo couldn't help but think, how could the elders be so insightful? Chapter 77. Should we raise a few guard dogs? The elders of Qin Family Village seemed to have a knack for foresight, which made Qin Mo a bit uneasy. Fortunately, Song Chunmei was just speaking casually, and the other elders didn't dwell on that thought. However, right after Qin Mo finished speaking, Qin Fuguo earnestly said to him, Xiao Mo, spending money is fine, but we shouldn't spend it carelessly. Do we really need security and cleaning staff in our village? Do we really need these? He continued, look. With Jiaming and Aunt Wang, that's 9 people. How much would their monthly salaries be? That is several thousand, right? You have money now, but this is a long-term commitment. If you're spending several thousand a month, how much will you earn in a year? How much can the crops in the fields earn in a year? This time, Qin Fuguo is not on Qin Mo's side. In Qin Fuguo's view, all of this is unnecessary and a waste. Hiring so many people costs a lot of money. If this money is not spent, how much could be saved in a year? The specifics haven't been calculated, but it's certainly not a small amount. It's definitely not something that a few acres of land in Qin Family Village can produce. However, Qin Mo has a system. Hiring people has never been a losing deal. If nothing unexpected happens, he will soon receive rewards from the system. In comparison, how much is the salary? Nevertheless, Qin Fuguo mentioned the issue of earnings. And Qin Mo actually gave an answer. After pondering for a moment, Qin Mo said, Uncle Fuguo, I haven't counted how much I earn from business, but I get 100,000 yuan a day from the office building. The annual rent for the office building is over 30 million yuan. By the end of next year, I can collect the entire year's rent. The system works very well. Before the office building was awarded to Qin Mo, it was fully occupied with tenants. This means he doesn't need to rent it out himself. However, Since there were tenants already, there is a downside. The rent is collected on an annual basis, and the previous tenants have already paid their rent. As for who they paid, Chin Imo is not sure. After all, the system awarded the office building to Chin Imo, and everything is compliant and legal. How the system acquired it remains an unknown. Of course, this is not important. Thinking about these things is completely unnecessary. The system itself is an unscientific entity. Delving into the source of the rewards would only bring unnecessary troubles. As long as the system's rewards are sound, that is sufficient. In fact, the rewards from the system have proven to be trouble-free. Rent is one aspect, earning 100,000 yuan daily. After saying this, Chin Imo paused for a moment and then added, I have other businesses too, making about 20,000 yuan a day, so that's 120,000 yuan. The laundry business brings Chin Imo a steady income of 20,000 yuan daily, deposited directly after noon. Coupled with Chin Imo's active contributions to the elders in Chin Family Village, along with various quirky system rewards, plus my business earnings, I should have at least 200,000 yuan a day. When Chin Fugua asked Chin Imo how much he could earn in a day, Chin Imo honestly stated his earnings. However, upon hearing this, Chin Fugua and a group of elderly villagers were left speechless. The 200,000 yuan was already a conservative estimate. If he were to receive a good reward, like an office building, that amount would soar beyond 200,000 yuan. Although 200,000 yuan may not seem like a lot, hearing it every day is simply unbelievable. Listening to Chin Imo's words, Chin Fugua was left utterly speechless. What was the purpose of his initial statement? It's to let Chin Imo save a bit. It's to let Chin Imo do some calculations. It's to let Chin Imo know that making money isn't easy. Money still needs to be saved. As a result, Chin Imo directly came up with such a situation, earning more than 200,000 in a day. How much is that over a year? If calculated this way, the cost of hiring these few people seems to be negligible. It's like fishing in the ocean, plucking feathers from a lioness' head. It's practically nothing. After Chin Imo said this, not only was Chin Fugua stunned, but even the elderly around couldn't help but exclaim, oh my goodness. How much? Over 200,000? Isn't that $1 an hour? What a concept. What a concept. Granny Chi, at her age, widened her eyes in disbelief. No wonder Chin Imo dares to spend money like this. And this is just what he earned. This doesn't even account for what's in his bank account. For a while, the exclamations couldn't stop. Fortunately, the elderly reacted quickly. Seeing that the new security guards and cleaners were looking over, they quickly hushed up. Then they hurriedly said to Chin Imo, you kid, don't talk nonsense. Alright, you mustn't say this to outsiders in the future. Cover your mouth. What if others hear it? Oh dear, don't say such things outside. We don't talk like that. The saying goes, wealth shouldn't be flaunted. The elderly wished they could cover Chin Imo's mouth to prevent him from saying anything shocking again. How much money is it appropriate to discuss openly? Especially since he's making so much money. Of course, this group of elderly also cared for Chin Imo while being shocked. Faced with their reactions, Chin Imo couldn't help but smile. Didn't Uncle Fugua ask? I just calculated casually. I usually don't pay much attention to these things. I earn too much to keep track. Chin Imo casually said this, and the elderly around him responded, you can't say this to outsiders in the future. We can't say it either. Yes. Fugua, don't ask anymore. I want tea. Chin Fugua waved his hands repeatedly. After San Yi and the others said this, they took a deep breath, marveling. You've made it. My goodness. This is not just making it. It's like picking up money. Little Imo. Oh my little Imo, you've really made a name for yourself. Taking advantage of this moment, Chin Imo spoke. So, hiring these few people hardly costs anything. He paused and continued, I'm busy making money. If I don't have a few people watching over our village, how can I feel at ease with you all getting older? Chin Imo turned the conversation back to himself. Even if I don't care about you all, I'm earning so much money. I have to consider my own safety, right? Even wealthy people have bodyguards. I just hired a security guard. After Chin Imo said this, everyone agreed. Yes, a security guard is necessary. They had previously thought it was a waste of money, but now they realized that it's better to be safe than sorry. The village has security guards on duty 24 hours a day, which makes everyone feel more at ease. Xiao Imo is right. It's all for safety. How capable are these guards? Can one of them handle several at once? Perhaps we should consider getting a few guard dogs as well. Chapter 78. Can one guard take on a whole squad? Well, previously, the elderly folks had been saying that hiring security was a waste of money. But now, after a quick turn of events, Chin Imo casually mentioned his income and concerns. And suddenly they were all silent, even starting to reference his words right there. What? Can one guard handle a whole squad? What? We should get a few dogs. And if we do, they should be large breeds. Third uncle even whispered, I still have an old shotgun, though it's rusty. Hearing this, Chin Imo quickly waved his hands. This old man is asking for trouble. How come the rest all sorts of things? But it's understandable. Firearms weren't as tightly controlled in the past. The old man, at his age, used to oversee the security of several villages. So after third uncle mentioned that, Chin Mo hurriedly said, "My good third uncle, we shouldn't be discussing such things carelessly. We don't need it. It needs to be turned in. Keeping it is useless for us. We shouldn't even be playing with it." All right. Chin Huai readily agreed, but his response seemed a bit dismissive. To be honest, Chin Mo sought out security primarily for the convenience and safety of Chin family village, especially for the elderly. However, now the elderly folks were more concerned about Chin Mo's safety. Regardless, the arrangements for security and cleaning were settled, and the elderly no longer voiced their opinions, instead greeting others with smiles. During this time, Chin Mo managed to slip away from the elders and approach the security and cleaning staff. As their boss, he exchanged pleasantries with them, stating that they would be relied upon for the security and sanitation of Chin family village from now on. The security and cleaning staff repeatedly expressed that it was no trouble at all. After all, they were being paid to do the job. After a bit of small talk, Chin Mo handed over the supplies he had prepared the day before. The cleaning staff took their cleaning tools, fully equipped, while the security guards grabbed their batons and went to change into their uniforms. Once dressed, they instantly looked like a proper security force. Regardless of whether they were security or cleaning staff, Chin Mo realized he couldn't keep an eye on everything. So he spoke to Lu Jiaming and Aunt Wang. Aunt Wang would be in charge of cleaning, while Lu Jiaming would oversee the security. Of course, they wouldn't be working for free. Chin Mo directly mentioned he would increase their wages to compensate for their efforts. Upon hearing this, both of them were pleased but insisted, "No need, really. There's hardly any work. We don't need a raise. Please don't, boss." It was clear they genuinely didn't want it. However, it seems that they are really refusing to give Chin Mo a raise, as they all know their boss is good enough. On the other hand, there is a bit of happiness about it. They also hope for a salary increase because who doesn't want a higher salary? If it doesn't happen, fine. No objections. It's expected. It doesn't affect their feelings for Chin Mo as a boss at all. They can do more work and feel more secure with their pay. If there is an increase, they would be happy. Chin Mo has also worked before, so he understands their mindset. He smiled and said, "All right. You can't work for free. Just let it be. You two will be responsible from now on." With that, he made a decisive statement. This made both Aunt Wang and Lu Jiaming a bit excited. They couldn't help but think, what a great boss. Look, there was hardly any salary to begin with. And they said they wouldn't increase it, yet they still did. Where can you find such a boss? This secretly motivated them, making them determined to work hard. Lu Jiaming immediately went to arrange for a few security personnel. He planned to let two go back and keep two on duty, operating in two shifts for now due to insufficient manpower. Of course, Chin Mo wouldn't let them work for so long for nothing. Aunt Wang had a simpler task. She reminded a few cleaners to do a thorough job and ideally help clean the houses of the elderly in Chin village as well. She was quite detailed in her reminders, even more so than when Chin Mo was worried. This shows that Chin Mo's salary was truly well spent. It is worth mentioning that whether it was the security personnel, the cleaners, Lu Jiaming, or Aunt Wang, they all came to work in Chin village to serve the community. However, the elderly in Chin village never made any demands of them. At most, they would just chat. The reason is simple. The people of Chin village feel shy about asking for favors and never really see them as employees. Therefore, there are not many complications for them in Chin village, and Chin Mo can trust Lu Jiaming and Aunt Wang to handle things. While they were busy, a notification sound rang in Chin Mo's mind. Ding! The host gives back to the villagers by adding 4 security personnel for the village, receiving system rewards of full-time undergraduate knowledge and skills in all majors. Obtained rewards, fixed daily cash reward of 100,000 yuan. Just as this notification ended, another one followed. Ding! The host gives back to the villagers by adding 3 cleaners for the village, receiving system rewards of along the river during the Qingming festival and a fixed daily cash reward of 50,000 yuan. The 2 consecutive system notifications echoed in Chin Mo's ears, instantly energizing him. 2 notifications, 4 rewards. Not to mention the other details, there were actually 2 fixed rewards, one for 50,000 and another for 100,000. Just a moment ago, Chin Mo mentioned his daily income was over 200,000 yuan. Now, in the blink of an eye, he was about to add another 150,000. That's a total of 350,000 in a day. A year has passed, and what does this mean? The system is practically giving away money. Leaving aside the financial aspect for now, what about the along the river during the Qingming festival? The people of Chin Mo are bewildered. This thing can even come with rewards? What is this? This is a national treasure. How can this be a reward? Moreover, this item has been lost in the history of the Eastern country. Perhaps there are parallel worlds where this item hasn't been lost, but here, it has indeed been lost. And yet, it's being given as a reward to Chin Mo? How is that even possible? And that's not all. The knowledge from a full-time undergraduate program in all disciplines. The moment this knowledge appeared in Chin Mo's mind, he could only exclaim, "My goodness! What does this reward even mean?" There's no need to elaborate. Let us not even mention the volume of knowledge from a full-time undergraduate program. Is there any area in the world that Chin Mo doesn't understand? Not a single one. Even languages. He grasped them all perfectly. Regarding these rewards, Chin Mo took a few deep breaths. One can only say he was lucky. The system is generous. It's simply extraordinary. Chapter 79. Boss, this isn't fair. Chin Mo was originally just a graduate of a third-rate university. Now it's different. If you don't look at that diploma, this really is a leap to success. Knowledge may not always be useful, but you can't go without it. What if that day comes when it's needed? That's unpredictable. Speaking of which, previously, Chin Mo didn't really understand the stock market. He hadn't studied finance. But now, the knowledge of finance is presented in Chin Mo's mind. He not only understands the stock market, but also all kinds of financial concepts clearly. There are various other disciplines as well. At this moment, it feels like the world has become clearer in front of Chin Mo. Let us not even mention the system's rewards for now. The improvements in Qingjia village, with the addition of security and cleaning staff, are noticeable. There's not much to say about the security, but just considering the cleaning staff, after a short morning, the village looks much tidier. It's not that Qingjia village was dirty before, it was clean, but in the countryside, you can't avoid some dirt on the ground. There are places with accumulated snow, and in the corners, there are still some dry branches and leaves not covered by snow. It's not unclean, it's just not tidy enough. However, after a few ladies worked hard for half a day, while you couldn't say Qingjia village was completely transformed, it at least feels much tidier. Just seeing this, Chin Mo feels that the money spent was well worth it. The key is that the ladies are proactive. They not only cleaned the outside but also dealt with the elderly who like to stack firewood in front of their homes. The firewood piles were originally quite scattered. However, after a few ladies tidied them up, everything looked neat and orderly, which was pleasing to the eye. The elderly people in the village felt a bit reluctant regarding the cleaning wages, but seeing such a scene, they were not only concerned but also happy. Of course, there was a bit of embarrassment as well. It's fine, no need to clean this up. You all take a break. The ladies, indeed, lived up to the expectations set by the organizer. They quickly replied, "Oh, it's no trouble. We've all been paid. How can we not work? Besides, it's not hard work." Exactly. The tasks aren't many or heavy. How can we rest? They encouraged, "If you need cleaning at home, just let us know. Once we're done outside, we can help tidy up at your place." The elderly people repeatedly praised them. Good. Although the security and cleaning staff were all set, and regardless of whether it was security or cleaning, the issue of meals remained. Even though Chin Mo provided meal allowances, eating was still a problem. After all, the countryside is different from the cities or townships. Even if you have money, there's often nothing to buy. Especially in Chin family village, where there's virtually nothing. Finding food was a hassle. Originally, Aunt Wang and Lu Jiaming would bring their lunch to work in the morning and go home for dinner. If Lu Jiaming went out with Chin Mo, he could easily solve his meal issue. However, the cleaning and security staff were starting their first day and didn't even bring food. They came empty-handed. This raised concerns about their meals. After all, you can't let people go hungry, right? This made Chin Mo feel a bit of a headache. In no time, he called Lu Jiaming. "Go drive them to the town to buy some food. Bring it back. Also, get some instant noodles, bread, and self-heating rice. The security staff working the night shift can make do with that." "Okay," Lu Jiaming replied and drove straight to the town. Chin Mo hadn't thought about this issue at first when there were fewer people, but now that the number was gradually increasing, he needed to find a solution. The elderly folks were eager to invite the cleaning ladies or the security staff to their homes for a meal, but they wouldn't go. Moreover, this was not just about 1 or 2 meals. After some thought, Chin Mo called Wang Lijun again. "Uncle, I need to find another lady to cook. The activity center isn't built yet, so there won't be a cafeteria. But it's all right. If someone can cook, the kitchen at my home can manage for the time being. Once the activity center is completed, it won't be a problem." Wang Lijun was also enthusiastic. After hearing Chin Mo's words, he readily agreed and even laughed over the phone. What a coincidence. Just now, a middle-aged woman asked me if I could help her find a job. In that case, I'll find you someone who can cook well and clean up. On the other end of the line was Wang Lijun. "Also, don't you need 2 security guards? We'll have that sorted out in a day or 2. Upon hearing this, Chin Mo couldn't help but smile. "Thank you, Uncle Wang. No need to be polite. I'll find a lady to cook in Chin Mo's kitchen for now. Lu Jiaming will buy some vegetables when he comes to work every day." The meal issue is all arranged by Chin Mo. Of course, this also adds to Lu Jiaming's workload, which makes Chin Mo feel a bit embarrassed. However, his approach is simple. He will consult Lu Jiaming and then give him a raise. That's it. It's worth mentioning that buying vegetables is actually a good task. When Chin Mo lets someone else buy them, the price adjustments are all profit. Chin Mo isn't new to society and is aware of these things. However, he also understands Lu Jiaming's character. Besides, buying vegetables doesn't cost much, and Chin Mo doesn't mind that little amount. Even if Lu Jiaming needs some money for cigarettes, Chin Mo is indifferent. The main thing is to make it hassle-free. When Lu Jiaming returns with the food, Chin Mo explains everything clearly to him. Upon hearing Chin Mo's arrangements and the raise, Lu Jiaming feels a bit excited yet resistant. He resists the raise but is excited about his boss's trust. No, it shouldn't be like this. It's just something I can handle easily. I barely have much to do in my main job. How can I take on everything? When everyone gathers to eat, Aunt Wang is fine with it, knowing that Chin Mo is a good boss. However, the new security guards and cleaners cannot help but feel envious of Lu Jiaming while also realizing that their boss is a good person. With this thought in mind, it's not just about being proactive. They are all eager to do their jobs well. Moreover, Aunt Wang engages in casual conversation, sharing stories about how Chin Mo treats the villagers. Our boss buys things for the villagers. He even remembers us. This makes the security guards and cleaners nod frequently in agreement. Chapter 80. This is something remarkable. Without mentioning the feelings of the security guards and cleaners at work, in the afternoon, the installation team for the surveillance cameras arrived, bringing various equipment with them. When the installation boss reached the village entrance, he was stopped by the security guards of Chin Family Village. They started fulfilling their duties on their first day. After all, since they are strangers, they asked, "May I ask why you are here?" The installation worker replied, "Let me call our boss for you." When Chin Mo appeared in front of the surveillance cellar, he was shocked. The first thing he said upon seeing Chin Mo was, "Don't you have security guards in your village?" Before Chin Mo could respond, Lu Jiaming smiled and said, "How rare. We even have cleaners here. And I'm still the driver." The installation of surveillance cameras caught these comments, leaving the installer astonished. Wow, an entire village has security now, and even cleaning services. At first glance, Chin Village doesn't seem impressive, but it turns out to be quite remarkable. Upon learning that this was all thanks to Chin Mo's efforts for the villagers, the seller of the surveillance equipment was even more shocked. It must take a lot of money to do this. At the same time, he couldn't help but envy the people of Chin Village, as such influential figures were rare elsewhere. Setting up the cameras was relatively simple since there was no need to erect poles. The installer just needed to adjust the cameras to cover various angles of Chin Village and secure them in place. Additionally, the close proximity of the streetlights made wiring easier. The only tricky part was supplying power to the cameras. There were PoE, power over Ethernet, cameras that could draw power directly from the network cable. But their functionality was limited and the power output was insufficient. Thus, Chin Mo decided against using such cameras from the start. However, this didn't affect the installation process. He spent the entire afternoon installing all the cameras and setting up the equipment. With everything in place, he just needed to handle the power supply. "You get the circuit installed and connected to the power, and I'll come back for testing," he told the boss. "No problem, thank you." After the installer left, Chin Fuwa arranged for an electrician from the power supply bureau to come the next day. Since they weren't tapping into their own electricity, it was a bit more complicated. Fortunately, handling these matters under the village committee's name made things easier, and the electricity costs would be billed to the committee. With Chin Mo around, paying the electricity bill was a minor issue. He certainly wouldn't mind that expense. After 3 days of work, the power supply was finally set up. This power supply had an added benefit. Even if the streetlight solar panels had issues later on, they could still connect directly to the power supply. Once the cameras were powered on, the surveillance system was fully operational. When the testing was complete, the temporary equipment room displayed images from various angles of Chin Village on multiple screens. This scene amazed the elderly villagers, who were astonished to see their own surroundings on display. "Isn't this right in front of Xiao Mo's house? And we can see behind the building too? It's capturing the whole village," exclaimed one villager. "Oh my goodness, this is just like watching TV. It's so clear." Their astonishment didn't stop there. The elderly folks were also vocal in their admiration. Chin Huai even took the opportunity to ask Chin Mo, "Xiao Mo, can we see this at night?" Upon hearing this, others expressed their curiosity as well. Chin Mo smiled and assured them, "You can see it at night, and it will be just as clear." He added that without night vision capabilities, the cameras would be of little use. Hearing this, the people of Chin Family Village were once again very pleased and felt more at ease. The surveillance system had been installed. Chin Mo also took the time to remind a few security guards, "Just keep an eye on the monitors at night. It has an alarm function. If something unusual happens, the footage will alert you. If everything is normal at night, there is no need to patrol, since everything can be seen clearly, especially in this cold weather." After saying this, Chin Mo added, "When the air conditioning installation team arrives, they will set up an air conditioner in the monitoring room. This way, you won't be cold during your night shifts." Hearing Chin Mo's words, the security guards nodded repeatedly. What kind of boss is this? He even worries about them getting cold during night shifts. He is concerned about the village being too empty at night and is even installing air conditioning for them. He just wants them to watch the monitors. The best part is they can work in pairs. In this arrangement, each person can even take turns to rest. Plus, the monitoring system has an alarm. Such thoughtful planning. Where can you find a boss like this? Upon hearing their words, Chin Mo smiled. In fact, he didn't really mind if they got distracted at work or anything like that. It's human nature. As long as they were dedicated, that was enough. Moreover, the surveillance system had an alarm. Besides, there hadn't been any incidents in Chin Family Village for many years. The overall security in the region was quite good. The surveillance and guards were just precautionary measures. Just as the monitoring system was being set up, Chin Mo received a notification from the system. Ding! The host has contributed to the villagers by installing surveillance equipment in Chin Family Village and has received a system reward, a smartphone operating system. The notification left Chin Mo in shock. He knew that the system rewards would come and that they were unpredictable, but he didn't expect to receive a smartphone operating system. This caught Chin Mo off guard. He never thought the system would offer something like this as a reward. However, Chin Mo quickly realized that this system reward was impressive. He had become quite knowledgeable across various fields, and he was familiar with computer science. This allowed him to easily discover that the so-called operating system awarded by the system was different from the typical smartphone operating systems like Android on the market. Firstly, the operating system awarded by the system was more compact, taking up less space. Secondly, it operated more stably, with simpler hardware requirements based on its underlying architecture logic. At the same time, it was smarter in operation and could be described as intuitive and user-friendly. And the security performance compared to the current ones is simply worlds apart. Realizing this, Chin Mo immediately understood that this was something extraordinary. Chapter 81. This is not a problem. It far surpasses the mobile operating systems currently available on the market. This is no small feat. Chin Mo could see that if this thing were to be released, it would certainly cause a sensation in the tech market. Such a great thing made Chin Mo feel a bit excited. He thought about one day having the strength to bring this out, to start his own company and become a boss, or even take the company public. And this company wouldn't be set up anywhere else but in Chin Family Village. Just imagine having a listed tech company in Chin Family Village. What a feeling that would be. Just thinking about it made him feel ecstatic. Of course, while Chin Mo had this idea, he had no intention of taking action in the short term. His current focus was still on giving back to the elders and folks in Chin Family Village. Not only was it his current focus, but it would also remain so in the future. Everything else was secondary. Moreover, the reason Chin Mo didn't have this idea at the moment was simple. Although the system rewarded him with the items, once he brought them out, the troubles encountered would be his own. Take this operating system for example. If a groundbreaking thing were released, it would definitely cause turmoil in the mobile technology sector worldwide. With such an impressive item, once it's out there, it's inevitable that he would attract attention. Without the necessary strength, meddling with such a thing would only lead to trouble, and he might end up in a mess. In that case, he would genuinely have nowhere to cry. Thus, this is also the main reason why Chin Mo, even while daydreaming, had no intention of taking action. For Chin Mo, the system still had many rewards. He was still young, and Chin Family Village hadn't been fully developed yet. There was no rush. None of this was urgent. The surveillance system in Chin Family Village had been installed, the system rewards were received, and everything that needed to be done was done. It hadn't even been 2 days. The aunt who helped with cooking and the 2 remaining security personnel that Wang Lijun helped find were already in place. At this moment, the staffing in Chin Family Village was finally complete. With 3 more personnel, Chin Mo received another reward from the system. Unfortunately, the rewards given before hiring were quite good. This time, however, Chin Mo was a bit hopeful. But the reality proved that luck doesn't always hold. The rewards for these 3 individuals were not impressive. They only received fixed rewards and some cash bonuses. To say that Chin Mo found this a bit underwhelming is somewhat of an understatement. What he referred to as not impressive was merely in comparison to other rewards. It was just SOSO. But in reality, it was different. 3 employees. And Chin Mo received a cash reward of over $1 million. Over $1 million. Can this be called ineffective? Generally, it takes a person 10 years of hard work to accumulate that much money. Even considering Chin Mo's previous way of working, he wouldn't have saved that much in 20 years. Can this still be called ineffective? However, having a system allows for a bit of flexibility. Chin Mo's situation isn't entirely baseless. With the arrival of a cook, it's a good thing for him. Previously, he had to manage his own meals, making do with whatever was available or occasionally eating at the homes of the elderly in Chin Family Village. Since returning from outside, he had been doing just that. Now that he has a cook, his meal situation is resolved, giving him peace of mind. In addition to that, good things have been happening one after another these days. The weather has warmed up, and the snow has melted. The construction company has indicated that work can continue, which is great news. The only downside is that it was initially expected to snow a few more times, which would have provided more opportunities for Chin Mo's loader. But for now, that won't be needed. Another piece of good news is that the truck he ordered can be picked up. The vehicle has arrived at the dealership and can be paid for and driven away at any time. With these two developments, Qin Mo took Lu Jiaming back to the county. They first picked up the truck, and then they headed to the city. The purpose of going to the city was simple, to meet with the construction company. This time, the discussion wasn't about the activity center's construction, but rather about the fact that the money on hand was running low. Construction is inherently time-consuming, and this was also to motivate the construction company's project progress. Qin Mo directly initiated discussions about the reconstruction of Qin Family Village. This is a significant business opportunity. Last time, when Qin Mo mentioned it, the head of the construction company couldn't forget it. This time, as Qin Mo was about to discuss this business, even before he arrived, the head of the construction company, along with a group of employees, was already waiting for him downstairs. This wasn't his first visit, but upon seeing Qin Mo, they warmly welcomed him, practically fawning over him. Seeing this scene, Qin Mo exchanged pleasantries. And it wasn't long before they moved on to discussing the project construction. You've been to our village many times, and you've seen the environment. It's essential that each household is independent. Also, we've hired security for our village. These basic infrastructures need to be in place. My current idea is, during construction, could we possibly enclose Qin Family Village? Just like a residential community or villa area. Only leave the entrances at the road intersections for access. This way, the entire Qin Family Village can be independent. Of course, we are a village, and it's not just us. Others may also pass through this road. So, there should be a road left on the outer side as well. The head of the construction company and a group of designers and various professionals listened to Qin Mo's words and expressed that there would be no problem. Mr. Qin, this is quite simple. Yes, you can rest assured, we will definitely arrange it well. We are all aware of the situation in our village, and we have taken all of this into consideration. It won't be like building a villa area or a community in the city. Of course, these requirements are very simple. In fact, it also includes our infrastructure. For example, water supply, heating supply, and even gas supply. These are not issues. The only relatively troublesome matter is land use. This needs to be handled by you, Mr. Qin. Building houses is easy. Facilities are also straightforward. Land use is the most troublesome thing. However, this trouble is relative to the city. After all, you can't just use the land as you wish there. But in Qin Family Village, Qin Mo waved his hand. This is not a problem. Chapter 82, Celebrating Longevity? What an international joke. Is there still a land issue in Qin Family Village? To put it bluntly, as long as Qin Mo wants, the little land in Qin Family Village can truly be used as he pleases. He can do whatever he wants. This is not an exaggeration at all. Who would disagree? Is it the third master, Qin Huai, or Qin Fugua, or someone else? And even if there are others, the minority is not a problem against the majority. Moreover, no one in Qin Family Village would raise objections against Qin Mo. If land use is not an issue, then it becomes much simpler. This is what the head of the construction company frequently nodded about. This is also a convenience for them. The good thing about building houses in the countryside is that in the current countryside of Donghua, you don't even need approval. Just tell the village committee, and you can demolish and rebuild. The village committee will just provide you with the paperwork, whether it's just you building a house or the whole village together. As long as you don't occupy arable land and don't exceed the limits, it's fine. As for the village committee of Qin Family Village, Qin Mo felt that he still needed to persuade Qin Fugua a bit more. After discussing with the construction company, Qin Mo quickly returned to Qin Family Village. Before he came back, Lu Jiaming had already driven a truck back to Qin Family Village. Qin Mo was quite lucky. He returned just in time for a meal at the cafeteria. A meal was quickly settled. After eating, Qin Mo found Qin Fugua. He came to discuss the matter of rebuilding Qin Family Village after the new year. Of course, he couldn't directly say that they were building houses for the whole village. Qin Mo had a plan. He intended to tell Qin Fugua that they would build a wall around Qin Family Village. This would reduce the workload of security and enhance safety. Building a wall would involve the land of each family, so they would need each household to sign. As for the original households within the village, they could just be demolished and rebuilt on the same site. Even signing can be skipped. As for the wall, Qin Fugua repeatedly stated that it wasn't necessary. However, under Qin Mo's insistence, Qin Fugua had no choice but to agree. If Qin Mo has even hired security, what's the harm in adding a wall? At least that's how Qin Fugua sees it. Of course, he agreed for safety reasons. At our age, it's understandable. Little Mo needs to be careful. Qin Mo is quite wealthy, not just a little rich. The elders in Kanjiakan are even worried he might attract attention. It's that simple. The issue of rebuilding Kanjiakan is settled. However, on the other hand, Qin Mo is keeping this from the people of Kanjiakan. When the time comes to demolish the houses, it will be impossible to keep it a secret. Would the elderly be willing to have new houses built for them? Qin Mo has also thought of a solution for this. He plans to take everyone in the village out when the time comes. He has already thought of a reason to give everyone a health checkup and take them to see his villa in Danyang. The elders have yet to see this villa since he got it. Conveniently, he received a hotel as a reward from the system last time, which can temporarily accommodate the elders. Meanwhile, he will urge the construction company to speed up the progress. They will compress the construction period, aiming to complete the rebuilding of Kinjayakan in the shortest time possible. Even if the houses are not fully completed by then, the demolition will have started. By that time, even if the elderly have opinions, they will likely be dismissed. Of course, Chin Mo is thorough in his planning. He discussed with the construction company, under the pretext of repairing the houses later. He even asked if any of the elderly had emotional attachments to their current homes, if they would feel reluctant to leave. If they could live in new houses, would they be happy? Chin Mo has been asking different elders about this periodically, starting a few days ago. He has stretched the timeline to avoid raising suspicion among the elders. It turns out, who wouldn't he want to live in a new house? No one has any strong feelings for the old houses. In the words of third grandpa, well, if there are new houses to live in, who would want to stay in this rundown place? Fifth grandpa said, I've lived here for half my life, and I'm already tired of it. Second grandma remarked, Little Mo, what are you planning? Don't you dare touch my house. If you want to demolish it and use it, fine. But if you're building me a new one, I'll be upset. How could I possibly let you build me a new house? When second grandma heard about the government offering free renovations, her eyes lit up. What? Such good news? When will it come to us? Chin Mo replied, don't you get it? Everyone in Kinjayakan wants a new house. But if someone else offers it for free, that's one thing. But if I have to pay for it, that's not acceptable. Saving money is the best approach. This outcome leaves Chin Mo feeling both amused and bewildered. The elderly folks in the village are really playing their double standards hard. However, this also reassures Chin Mo. There's nothing more to say. When the time comes, he will confidently proceed with the demolition. No problem at all. Chin Mo took a stroll around the village and ran into Lu Jiaming while holding the documents signed by the elderly. Lu Jiaming was filling up the humidifier. Not only was he adding water, but he also made sure to clean the humidifier. Seeing this, Chin Mo couldn't help but say, we want to need it next year. We'll switch to underfloor heating in our village. Upon hearing this, Lu Jiaming was taken aback and quickly asked, Boss, will the dormitory also have underfloor heating? Of course, Chin Mo replied. Lu Jiaming grinned widely. That's great. Fantastic. He also had a feeling that Chin Mo was planning to build houses in the village. He sensed this when Chin Mo went to the city today, and now. It seemed almost certain. This thought left Lu Jiaming quite impressed. Building houses for the entire village, what a concept. Only someone like the boss could pull that off. As they chatted, Chin Mo helped fill the humidifier. Just then, loud banging noises echoed from a distance in the village. It sounded like someone was setting off fireworks. It wasn't even dark yet, and they were already celebrating. Hearing the noise, Chin Mo remarked, which village is celebrating? Is there a banquet? Lu Jiaming laughed, definitely. As we get closer to the new year, there will be more banquets. Weddings, birthdays, everything is happening. In a couple of days, we'll hear banging every night. That's the festive spirit coming closer. Chin Mo nodded in agreement and added, the more people return from working outside, the livelier it gets. After a brief pause, he continued, by the way, if you have relatives or friends wanting to contribute to a banquet, let me know, and I'll give you time off. Sure. Lu Jiaming replied, smiling brightly. Who else has a boss that thinks of these things? Only you. Feeling pleased, Lu Jiaming said, by the way, boss, should we prepare for the New Year's goods in advance? The little New Year is just around the corner. Now that we have a truck, we can buy anything. Sounds good. Chin Mo was intrigued. Preparing New Year's goods for the villagers would also yield a bunch of system rewards. Great, you handle it. I'll come along. Lu Jiaming suddenly remembered something. Boss, the old lady in front of your house, your second grandmother, my aunt. Isn't she turning 88 this year? Are we not celebrating her birthday? Chin Mo was taken aback by this. 88 years old? He genuinely didn't know this. There's a custom in this area to celebrate birthdays at 88. Moreover, for those who have reached this age, if their children are at all filial, they tend to celebrate in a grand manner. It's no wonder Lu Jiaming would ask such a question. However, Chin Mo had a doubt, and said he didn't even know how old his grandmother was. How could Lu Jiaming know this so clearly? At that moment, Chin Mo turned to Lu Jiaming and asked, wait, how do you know my grandmother is 88 this year? Lu Jiaming replied, wasn't that just a casual chat? I asked the old lady which year she was born, and she said she was born in 36. So, doing the math, isn't that 88? Hearing this, Chin Mo was at a loss for words. Lu Jiaming really knew the ins and outs of Qinjia village, even the year the old lady was born. On the other hand, Chin Mo, who had grown up in Qinjia village, knew nothing about it. This made Chin Mo sigh. But just after sighing, Chin Mo became excited. 88 years old. We must celebrate. It's unacceptable not to celebrate at this age. Lu Jiaming smiled and said, I knew it. Boss, you would definitely celebrate the old lady's birthday. It was not easy to reach this age. If Qin Mo didn't know about it, that would be one thing. But now that he knew, no matter his current situation, even without a system in place, if he had returned home and learned of this, he couldn't just ignore it. This was a joyous occasion, a significant one at that. It was rare for Qinjia village to have such a big celebration. How could he not organize something for it? Previously, when Qin Mo bought a car, he had to host a banquet because the villagers insisted on it. So he went along with the festivities. If he could host a banquet for buying a car, how could he not do the same for his grandmother's 88th birthday? This time, Qin Mo was determined. Not only would it be lively, but it also had to be festive. Qinjia village must be filled with joy this time. After saying this, Qin Mo turned to Lu Jiaming and said, "Wait for me to ask Uncle Fugua about a good date." He planned to consult Qin Fugua to pick a lucky date. As soon as Qin Mo said this, Lu Jiaming responded, "All right." Just as Qin Mo was about to leave, he suddenly remembered something. He quickly turned to Lu Jiaming and said, "Wait a minute. When you have time, ask other old folks in our village about their exact ages. If it weren't for you asking, I wouldn't have known my grandmother was turning 88. I almost missed it." Qin Mo was even less clear about the ages of the other elders in Qinjia village. He certainly couldn't ask them directly. Being younger, if he inquired, the elders would probably see through his intentions and wouldn't tell the truth. So it was more appropriate for Lu Jiaming to ask. This time, Qin Mo planned to clarify the ages of the elderly in Qin family village. He had to remember it no matter what. Besides, who said there were no celebrations in Qin family village? Celebrating the birthdays of the elderly is certainly festive. Lu Jiaming agreed and promised to complete the task. In a flash, he ran off to chat with the elderly. Meanwhile, Qin Mo quickly found Qin Fugua. He had just left a short while ago and was back again. "Uncle Fugua, what's going on?" Qin Mo briefly explained his intentions. After hearing Qin Mo's words, Qin Fugua hesitated. Logically speaking, turning 88 should warrant a birthday celebration. To be honest, there aren't many people who reach that age. Moreover, Annie's health is relatively good. However, Qin Fugua scratched his head. In the past, our village never held birthday celebrations. For instance, when your third grandfather turned 73, we didn't celebrate. Qin family village simply didn't have the conditions for it. There aren't many young people around. What kind of birthday banquet could we hold? Not to mention that in previous years, while other villages were bustling during the new year, Qin family village was always quiet. Even during the new year, it was like this, let alone a birthday banquet. Only this year, Qin Mo returned. He had the means, he had the money, and he did so much for the elders in Qin family village. The village was gradually transforming from its former state. There was a sense of vitality now. In the past, it was all gloom. To put it bluntly, the elderly in Qin family village were just waiting for their time to come. The only hope they had was Qin Mo, one of the few young people. Qin Fugua hesitated. The key issue was that Auntie might not agree. What if she didn't want to? Qin Mo didn't care about that. He was even a bit hot-blooded. Although he was still young, he understood that not many people can live to be 88. Not holding a celebration? I'll go talk to Annie. If I can buy a car, then you all expect me to hold a banquet. Buying a car can warrant a banquet, and Annie turning 88 is a genuine celebration. Not allowing a celebration? I'm telling you, that is not acceptable. Qin Mo declared firmly to Qin Fugua and immediately walked towards the outside. Seeing this, Qin Fugua hurriedly said, "Wait for me. I'll go with you." In no time, Qin Mo and Qin Fugua found themselves in front of Annie. Qin Fugua spoke first, smiling, "Annie, you're turning 88 this year, right?" Auntie Song Chunmei was taken aback for a moment before replying, "What is going on?" Qin Fugua didn't respond and glanced at Qin Mo. Annie Song quickly said, "Oh, I'm not 88. I'm 89. Who told you I was 88? You must have remembered it wrong." Hearing this, Qin Mo was speechless. The old lady's reaction was really quick. Before he even spoke, she had already caught on. She had just added a year to herself out of thin air. However, after hearing this, Qin Mo smiled and said, "Great-grandma, aren't you born in 36? How come you're already 89? Song Chunmei quickly waved her hand. "I was born in 35, I got it wrong. So you've already turned 88? Yes. Song Chunmei hurriedly gestured. Qin Mo indeed had a way of dealing with elderly folks. In an instant, he said, "That's wonderful. Let's celebrate then. This year I've done well. If it were last year, it would have been troublesome." Upon hearing this, Song Chunmei panicked. No, there's no celebrating. Wait, I got it wrong. I was actually born in 37. I am 87 this year, not yet 88. Hearing this, Qin Mo's expression brightened. He then said, 87? That's great. In the countryside, we count by the traditional age, which means you re-88. Perfect. Time to celebrate. If you're older, we celebrate. If you're younger, we celebrate early? Song Chunmei became anxious. You child. There's still more than 20 days until the new year. She didn't want Qin Mo to throw a birthday banquet. As soon as Qin Mo came and Qin Fugua spoke, the old lady knew their intentions. In her view, why spend unnecessary money? Although she knew Qin Mo was wealthy, she didn't want him to waste his money on her. However, For Qin Mo, that was not an option. There were only a few people in Kanjiakan, each year fewer than the last. Besides, there might not be any celebrations in the village. Not celebrating? That was out of the question. So when Song Chunmei was about to say something, Qin Mo spoke first. Great-grandma, don't say anything. You know I have money, plenty of it. Even if I didn't, money can be earned again. But how many times can you celebrate 88? If I don't celebrate, if I think about it one day in the future, I won't be able to sleep well. He continued, and don't ask. These celebrations for the elderly are handled by the younger generation. There are no young people in our village. It's up to me. Your 88th birthday banquet. I am definitely throwing it. No one can stop me. Not just you, but anyone in the village, whether it's 88 or even 90, 100, or even 108. I will celebrate. Money? I have plenty. As he spoke, Qin Mo's face was serious. He didn't say anything inappropriate, but his attitude was firm. This was evident to everyone. Song Chunmei was taken aback, and then couldn't help but laugh and cry. You child, reaching 88 is already remarkable. Can I even live to 90 or 100? That is a question. After saying this, she noticed Qin Mo looking at her intently. The old lady sighed after a moment of daze. She understood. After all, she was already 88. How much longer could she live? Qin Mo's insistence was simply because this age only comes once in a lifetime. Elderly people can leave this world at any moment. Song Chunmei knew that whether she could live to 90, whether there would be another chance to celebrate, no one could say for sure. The elderly lady sighed and helplessly said, just go ahead and do it. Don't stare at me like that. At my age, I'm leaving it all to you. Upon hearing this, Qin Mo couldn't help but laugh. That's the spirit. The elderly lady seemed to agree. However, she quickly reminded Qin Mo, just keep it simple. No need to invite outsiders. Just the people from our village and little Lu and his friends. We can have a little fun ourselves, but don't spend too much money. Save where you can. The elderly lady wasn't sure how others organized their banquets, but she knew that if Qin Mo was in charge, it would definitely end up being a loss. Listening to her, Qin Mo readily agreed. All right, don't worry, I won't waste money. After saying this, as he turned around, he called out to Uncle Fugua. Forget about the Swana band. We won't hire them. Uncle Qin Fug was brows relaxed. No Swana band. That's good. We can save a lot of money that way. Just have a lively time without regrets. This was what Qin Fugwa thought. But in a moment, Qin Mo changed his tone. The Swana band isn't interesting. Young people might enjoy it, but at your age, you should prefer watching operas. Uncle Fugwa, ask around to see if there's an opera troupe I can hire. This nearly made Qin Fugwa stumble. He was just thinking about how Qin Mo was saving money. And now it turned out they were switching from a Swana band to an opera troupe. Hiring an opera troupe would cost even more than a Swana band. This wasn't saving money at all. It was just pouring it down the drain. Just as Qin Fugwa was about to speak, Qin Mo sensed what he was thinking. He quickly said, you stay busy. I'll ask someone else. With that, he hurried off. Seeing this, Qin Fugwa shouted, save some money. If your second grandmother finds out, she'll be angry. By the time he finished shouting, Qin Mo had already found Lu Jiaming. Help me find an opera troupe. Do you know anyone? Lu Jiaming. Upon hearing this, thought for a moment. Boss, you want to hire an opera troupe? I don't know anyone, but I can ask around. Someone should know. Qin Mo nodded. Then please help me look. All right. Lu Jiaming replied, and pulled out his phone to start contacting people. Not long after, Lu Jiaming returned, looking excited. Boss, I found some leads. A few of them. Qin Mo perked up at this. What did you find? Lu Jiaming considered for a moment, and said, well, generally, an average troupe costs over 20,000 for 3 days and 2 nights. Some charge 5 or 6,000 a day. The price really depends on the size and number of performances of the troupe, but usually, they start at 3 days. Hearing this, Qin Mo quickly asked, what about the most expensive one you inquired about? Lu Jiaming replied, the most expensive one is remarkable. The troupe has famous performers. It's a regional opera troupe. They aren't from around here. If we invite them, I just asked, and it costs at least 80,000 a day. 80,000 a day, that's a bit exaggerated. Lu Jiaming thought Qin Mo was just casually asking. However, while 80,000 seems like a lot, it's actually quite reasonable. But such a troupe is generally unaffordable for most people. Yet Qin Mo didn't even think about the price. Money was not within his concern. Qin Mo then asked, what kind of famous performers do they have? Famous in the theater circle. Do they sing well? Absolutely. So their troupe must be quite large. Yes. They say there are quite a few people. If you pay more, they can bring even more. Hearing this, Qin Mo decisively said, let us go with this one. Lu Jiaming was taken aback, then quickly responded, boss, they require a minimum of 3 days. And we need to cover their meals and accommodations. 80,000 a day means over 200,000 for 3 days. Qin Mo listened to Lu Jiaming and replied, I know, just hire them. Money is not an issue. If we hire, let us hire the best. The boss is generous. Lu Jiaming exclaimed in admiration and hurriedly said, all right, I'll call them and confirm. By the way, boss, when do you want them to come over? Chinemo said, come in the next couple of days. The sooner, the better. Great. Lu Jiaming agreed and was about to make the call. But just as he was about to leave, Chinemo shouted from behind, wait. Yu Haven T asked how long we need them for. Lu Jiaming was stunned. ISNT at just 3 days? How much longer could it be? But he heard Chinemo say, I haven't decided on the date for the birthday banquet yet. Since it's for the 88th birthday, let us set it for the 8th. Today is only the 2nd, so tell them that we'll pay for an extra day if they come early. I want them to perform until the 29th of the lunar year. Lu Jiaming was immediately dumbfounded upon hearing Chinemo's words. What? Until the 29th of the lunar year? That's still over 20 days away. Lu Jiaming gasped. Chapter 85, maybe this money can be a bit cheaper. Lu Jiaming was completely bewildered by Chinemo's words. Over 20 days? How much would that cost? He couldn't help but poke his ears, tentatively asking Chinemo, boss, did I hear wrong? Until the 29th of the lunar year? Over 20 days? Seeing Lu Jiaming's incredulous expression, Chinemo couldn't help but laugh. That's right. Until the 29th of the lunar year. We're not short on this bit of money. Chinemo was absolutely right. 80,000 a day for over 20 days is just over $1 million. He truly wasn't short on this. Since he wasn't worried about the money. For Chinemo, it was essential that the elderly folks in Chin Family Village get to enjoy it thoroughly. Otherwise, just 1 or 2 performances would feel a bit lacking. Moreover, this money wouldn't be spent in vain. Once the troupe is hired, no matter how many days they sing, the system rewards would definitely follow. As long as there are systematic rewards in place, there's no need to think twice about spending the money. It will definitely yield great returns. In fact, while saying this, Chinemo was also contemplating the future development of Chin Family Village, wondering if he could even set up a theater there. He discreetly noted this idea. No rush. No rush. There are plenty of places to spend money. Just spend it. Setting aside his thoughts, Chinemo spoke lightly, but it made Lu Jiaming involuntarily swallow. Indeed. A boss is a boss. 100,000 or so is nothing to them. Lu Jiaming knew the boss had money. Since the boss was willing to spend, Lu Jiaming had no objections. He was even a bit excited. Although the money wasn't coming out of his pocket, he was the one who contacted the theater troupe, negotiating for more than 20 days. It's a good opportunity. When he made the call and spoke with the troupe, he felt a bit more confident. They would have to treat him with respect, right? Excited, Lu Jiaming immediately said, I'll contact them right away. Over 20 days. Who knows? We might even get a better deal. At that moment, Lu Jiaming was full of enthusiasm. Speaking of deals, Chinemo didn't have much opinion on whether it was cheap or not. It was all trivial in the grand scheme. With so much money already spent, he wouldn't be concerned about a little bit more, obviously. However, Chinemo didn't say much and just went along with Lu Jiaming. In no time, Lu Jiaming made the call and started chatting with the troupe. The conversation went very smoothly. Once the troupe heard they were to perform for more than 20 days, right up to the 29th day of the Lunar New Year, they immediately agreed. Not only that, but when Lu Jiaming mentioned that they would be paid for an extra day if they came a day early, the troupe responded even more eagerly. The day after tomorrow. We'll be there. Rest assured, everyone from our troupe will come, including several teachers. The troupe didn't have performances every day, and theaters didn't always sell out. With this opportunity to earn money, it would be strange for them to pass it up. In no time, Lu Jiaming excitedly returned to Chinemo boss. It's all settled. Plus, we even managed to save a bit of money. It's 78,000 a day, with a 2,000 discount. Lu Jiaming thought he'd save Chinemo some money by negotiating with the troupe. Although 2,000 isn't much, over 20 days. That adds up to several tens of thousands. Chinemo didn't mind the savings, but he still said to Lu Jiaming, good, I knew you were reliable. The money saved will go towards buying more New Year goods for you guys. He didn't care personally, but Lu Jiaming was considerate. Chinemo couldn't just dismiss it. After all, if someone put in effort, it would be disheartening to say otherwise. Chinemo was so pleased that it showed. Seeing him happy, Lu Jiaming felt delighted as well. If the boss was happy, it meant all his efforts were worth it. However, Lu Jiaming felt a bit embarrassed about Chinmo's words. Boss, you're too kind. This is what I should do. If I had said a bit more earlier, it could have helped. After all, we've known each other for a long time. But their troupe has its difficulties. They have to travel back and forth. Especially since they are from another province. Although he felt sorry, he understood the underlying message in Chinmo's words, that they still had to prepare for the new year. This made Lu Jiaming happy, and he couldn't help but exclaim, are you really buying New Year goods for us? We just finished the rice and flour from last time. You are truly wonderful. He quickly remembered an important matter. By the way, boss, we need to arrange meals and accommodation for the troupe when they come. We are still in the countryside, and it can be a bit inconvenient. Whether it's the musicians or the troupe, meals and lodging are indeed the host's responsibility. Generally, in rural areas, when inviting a troupe or a band, It's usually just a couple of people sleeping at different houses, making do for one night. The musicians or troupe typically don't mind since they are only there for a short time and are there to earn money. Conditions can be tough, but they endure it. Some hosts might provide old quilts and rickety beds, and sometimes there's even no bed at all, just straw on the ground. The musicians or troupe can tolerate that. Normally, when a troupe arrives at a village, although the houses might be shabby, they can still find places to stay. However, this time was different for Chin Mo. They would be staying for over 20 days. Moreover, he wouldn't put them on the ground or make them sleep on broken beds. He wasn't short on money and wouldn't treat them that way. After Lu Jiaming finished speaking, Chin Mo said, "Isn't there a hotel in town? Find out how many people are coming from their troupe, and then book a hotel in town. Whatever the number is, let them stay together if they want, and if not, then in separate rooms. It should be a place with a good environment." Speaking of hotels reminded Chin Mo of the 3-star hotel in Danyang that he had received as a system reward. It was quite a high-end place. Unfortunately, the hotel was in Danyang, which was too far from here. Otherwise, he could have let the troupe stay there without worrying about hotel costs. It's worth mentioning that just a few days ago, the hotel manager called Chin Mo to report on the business. When Chin Mo visited Danyang to check on the villa, he had also taken a look at the hotel. However, he wasn't particularly concerned about the hotel's business. With the system rewards, the hotel's performance was not something he needed to worry about, as long as it was operating normally. Chapter 86. Dinner time. After Chin Mo finished speaking, Lu Jiaming couldn't help but click his tongue in surprise. Opening a hotel? And everyone gets their own room? Even if the town's inn isn't great, it still costs at least a few dozen yuan for a night's stay. For others, this is simply impossible. Many people in the countryside think about hiring a Swana band. "I've already paid you. Can't you just make do?" Lu Jiaming realized that the boss is quite generous. He treats everyone well. He even feels a bit sorry for his boss. But then he thought, if the boss treats others like this, wouldn't it be even better for them as employees? What more could they want? At that moment, Lu Jiaming said, "All right, leave this to me. I'll go find an inn to discuss it. I happen to know some people who can definitely offer a better price." Lu Jiaming believed that if the boss is generous with spending, he should try to save a little where he can. He wasn't wrong in saying that. He is in his 60s and has lived in the town for decades. He knows many business owners in town, including those who run inns. Hearing Lu Jiaming, Chin Mo said, "Okay, then you go run this errand." After a pause, Chin Mo remembered something. "By the way, our theater troupe brings its own stage, right? We need to find a flat area to set it up. Not only do we need to build the stage, but we also need a place for the audience to sit and watch the performance." In no time, Chin Mo took Lu Jiaming around Kanjiakan to look for a suitable spot. Ultimately, they found that the activity center had a large, vacant area. Plus, it was far enough not to interfere with the construction. The only issue was that the ground was a bit uneven, with a small ditch. Chin Mo called Lu Jiaming to bring over a bulldozer to level the ditch. The bulldozer finally had a chance to be put to use. While Chin Mo and Lu Jiaming were busy, Chin Fugua couldn't help but be curious. "Little Mo, what are you planning to do?" Hearing this, Chin Mo replied, "I've hired a troupe to perform. We need a place to set up the stage." Oh. Chin Fugua nodded repeatedly. He didn't think much of it. When Chin Mo mentioned a performance, he instinctively thought of a Swana band, the kind that performs for a night. He didn't know that Chin Mo had hired a theater troupe, and a well-known one at that. They were even booked for more than 20 days. If the older folks in Kanjiakan found out, they would go crazy. Fortunately, Chin Fugua didn't ask too many questions. Chin Mo took the opportunity to ask Chin Fugua for something. "Uncle Fugua, do you still have the number for that chef we talked about before? Can you give it to me?" "Sure, I'll look for it." Not thinking much about it, Chin Fugua handed over the number. After all, you can't have a banquet without a chef. In no time, he passed the phone number to Chin Mo. To be honest, even if he didn't find a chef, Chin Mo could cook himself. He may not have been able to do it before, but now things are different. Recently, he had just received a reward for his culinary skills. Without saying much, his cooking skills are truly beyond what ordinary people can compare to. This master chef is quite skilled. However, in this context, it's hard to say otherwise. At the very least, he stands out compared to others. The person in question indeed plans to personally cook, but the banquet is not until the 8th day of the lunar month. There is still time before that. The troupe will be dining for several days, and he can't cook every day himself. So, he doesn't plan to take the stage until then. There is a lady who helps with cooking, but with dozens of people in the troupe, she can't manage everything alone. He thought it would be better to call the master chef over in advance. It's worth mentioning that the dining arrangements for the troupe can also be handled by themselves. At most, he could give them some money for meals. However, it's not proper to have them eat outside when they can stay in a better environment. It's not reasonable to eat out every day. It's not customary to not have meals at the hostess place. At this moment, a phone call came in, and he quickly called the master chef. Having done this before, they settled the details in just a few words. The master chef happened to be free and readily agreed. Fortunately, today is just the second day of the 12th lunar month. In fact, after the 10th day, it would be harder to find a chef. You might find someone to cook for a day, but to arrange for an extended period would definitely be difficult. After the 10th, many would be busy preparing for their own banquets and would have already made reservations. Finding someone for consecutive days would be impossible. Now, everything is in order for him. Just waiting for the troupe to arrive the day after tomorrow. Tomorrow, the chef will come to buy ingredients. Before the banquet on the 8th, when the troupe arrives, the meals will be simple, but he doesn't plan to skimp too much. This way, the troupe will have meals. And the staff from the village will also have something to eat. Not only that, but the elderly will also be taken care of. They won't need to cook themselves, essentially creating a temporary cafeteria. By the next day, Lu Jianming arrived early with the master chef and informed him that the hotel was booked. The hotel has dozens of rooms, which is just enough. With the chef here and the hotel ready, everything that needed to be prepared is set. Now, they just wait for the troupe to arrive. With a wave of his hand, Qin Imo said, "Let us go buy ingredients." In an instant, Lu Jianming drove the truck, and Qin Imo took along 2 security guards and the master chef. The group headed straight for the town. They quickly gathered fresh pork and other items, making sure not to buy too much since it wouldn't keep for long. Although it's winter, there's no need to overstock. They bought plenty of rice, flour, oil, and various seasonings. These items can be stored for a long time. The master chef brought his own pots, bowls, and utensils. He specializes in banquets. And all these things can be directly picked up at his home. Once everything is prepared, it's considered ready. In addition to these, Qin Imo also brought some rice and flour. He gave them to the chef, the security guard, Lu Jianming, Aunt Wang, and the cleaning staff. This isn't considered New Year's goods. I bought a lot. You all can take some home to eat. It's not time to distribute New Year's goods yet. This is just a little extra. In this situation, whether it's the cleaning staff, the security guard, or the cooking aunt, they all gratefully thank Qin Imo. The boss is so nice. He even brings us things when he shops, Aunt Wang exclaimed. Yes, last time he bought things for the village, he brought us some too. We haven't finished what he brought last time. Working for such a boss, there's really nothing to complain about. One of the security guards was initially thinking of just temporarily getting through this period, working here for now and making other arrangements later. But now, that thought was extinguished. Qin Imo didn't prepare anything for the elderly folks in Qin village. He didn't plan to let the old folks cook for themselves for the time being. So once the items were brought back, Qin Imo called out to the elderly, "Grandpa, Grandma, it's time to eat." Chapter 87. Just let it go. Eat. What to eat? The elderly of Qin village knew that Qin Imo had been busy all morning. But now, Qin village is different from before. There were fewer people back then. So all eyes were on Qin Imo whenever there was an outsider in the village. The elderly were very aware of it. But now it's different. The village has become more populated. There are construction teams, vehicles coming and going, security guards wandering around, and cleaning staff everywhere, along with a bit of chaos. The elderly in Qin village now have more people to chat with. Their attention is no longer solely focused on Qin Imo. After all, whether chatting with the security guard or the cleaning staff, or watching the construction, they could easily talk for half a day. They knew that Qin Imo had left early in the morning and had just returned. But they didn't ask where he had gone. After all, it was his money being spent, so what was there to ask? Thus, when Qin Imo said it was time to eat, the elderly were momentarily stunned, unable to react. What to eat? I haven't cooked yet. What are we eating? Is it time to cook? Xiao Imo, are you hungry? I'll go make you something. This group of elderly folks thought Qin Imo was hungry and immediately wanted to start cooking. Seeing this, Qin Imo couldn't help but smile and said, "It's like this. Grandma, isn't it your birthday? So you all don't need to cook at home. I've called the chef who cooked before. You don't need to lift a finger, just come to my place to eat. So it's a birthday feast." No wonder he said it was time to eat. At that moment, the elderly finally understood. "I thought you were hungry. Oh, it's your great-grandmother's birthday banquet. All right, I'm on my way." The elderly were chatting away. Suddenly, Qin Huai seemed to have realized something. Wait. He looked at Qin Imo suspiciously. "Is your great-grandmother's birthday banquet today?" The old man quickly sensed something was off. Wait a minute. Didn't we just agree on this banquet yesterday? And now it's starting today? Why is there no news at all? How can it just begin without anyone saying a word? The third master might have kept quiet, but now that he mentioned it, the great-grandmother was beginning to feel anxious. Others might not know about my birthday banquet today, but I am the one involved. How can it start without me knowing? Is it normal to hold a banquet without informing the person concerned? Just focus on eating? The great-grandmother felt a bit wronged. She had previously said not to hold it. Qin Imo wanted to hold it, and she had no objections. But now that it's already started, she only just found out? "Xiao Imo, is it my birthday banquet today? You didn't even tell me." The great-grandmother's voice trembled with grievance, resembling that of a child. Seeing this situation, Qin Imo quickly realized that this group of elderly folks had misunderstood. He laughed and said, "It's not like that. The birthday banquet isn't today. I scheduled it for the 8th. There are still several days to go. Then what are we eating now? They echoed. Yes, it's not even time yet. Even if we were to hold a banquet, we would only eat a day in advance at most. There are still several days left. It was no wonder these elderly folks had their doubts. In the countryside, banquets typically start getting busy 2 days before the main event. On the first day, family members would tidy up and gather people. On the second day, the cooks would arrive early to buy ingredients and set up tables and chairs. By the afternoon, the musicians would come. On the morning of the day before, neighbors and relatives would begin to gather for meals. A simple breakfast, a makeshift lunch, and a slightly more lavish dinner would be served until the main event. On the day of the banquet, a casual breakfast would take place, followed by the main feast at noon. After the lunch rush, they would invite neighbors to join for another meal in the evening as a thank you for their help. It was never the case that meals would start days in advance. Given their many years of experience, it was understandable that the elderly had questions. To clarify, Chin Mo quickly explained, the main banquet starts on the 8th, but I hired a troop in advance. They are a large group, and they will need to eat when they arrive. Chin Mo spoke with a smile, though privately he was being cautious. As expected, when the elderly folks learned about these matters, they were instantly taken aback. What? You invited a troop? A troop with dozens of people? They are coming tomorrow? Is it a legitimate opera troupe, not just some street musicians? Oh my goodness. You even booked them for the 29th of the 12th month? The expressions on the faces of the elderly were filled with shock. This is too much. They really didn't expect Chin Mo to pull such a stunt. The second grandmother's eyes widened in disbelief as she trembled and asked Chin Mo, how much? How much did it cost to bring them here? How much will this cost? No, Xiao Mo, you can't keep this a secret. Once the troop arrives, the elderly will start asking questions, facing their inquiries. Chin Mo smiled and said, 8,000 a day, which isn't too expensive. Well, Chin Mo was still being modest. However, even with that figure, the reaction was overwhelming. 8,000 a day. Oh heavens, this won't do. The second grandmother hurriedly exclaimed, we agreed to keep it simple. 8,000 a day. How much will that be by the end of the year? Xiao Mo. Chin Mo quickly interjected, they are already on the way, and the payment has been made. It can't be refunded. The second grandmother replied, well, this is great. Chin family village was in complete uproar. For a while, various voices filled Chin Mo's ears. However, he was somewhat prepared for this scene. He decided to take it easy and just smiled silently, regardless of what the elderly said. In a way, Chin Mo was raising the tolerance level of the elderly. This was already a low estimate. If they couldn't even handle a troop, what would happen if the house were to be demolished in the future? Would these elderly folks be happy about that? Chapter 88. You should buy the coffin in advance. You. Alright, this child, spending money is not what I intended for you. Chin Mo cleared his ears. After being scolded, the elderly looked at Chin Mo, who seemed unaffected, and were left speechless. Uncle Sen couldn't help but step in. Alright, enough already. What can we do now that they are already called here? Let's just leave it be. Enough with the scolding. Finally, under Uncle Sen's persuasion, the scolding from the elderly in Chin family village lessened, turning into head shakes and sighs. Chin Mo knew that if he remained silent, the elderly would feel uneasy. So, he decided to seize the moment and said, actually, this is not too expensive. I mainly wanted to liven up our village. Is this how you liven things up? Inviting a troop for a month. Is it really that lively? Just as the elderly of Chin family village were about to speak, Chin Mo quickly added, a couple of days ago, I made some money, at least several million. Chin Mo's way of making money is through the system. According to the system's rewards, it's definitely more than several million. The elderly folks are about to open their mouths again. Chin Mo doesn't give them any chance at all. Continuing on. I don't do any work now, and I make over 200,000 a day just from business. This part Chin Mo isn't exaggerating. Just from the system's rewards. That alone amounts to hundreds of thousands every day, and it's all fixed. Business has its risks. It's not guaranteed to bring in that much money every day. But with Chin Mo, the system's rewards are absolutely fixed. There's no risk involved at all. As he said this, the expressions of the elderly folks became much more pleasant. However, just as third uncle was about to speak, Chin Mo sighed softly and said, I made so much money. But not spending it is just a number. I have a friend in business who also makes quite a bit. When he made a lot of money and had nowhere to spend it, he heard about a casino abroad and lost his entire fortune of several hundred million there. As soon as Chin Mo finished speaking, the expressions of the elderly folks changed to a more serious tone. In the next moment, Chin Huailing quickly said, oh, the theater troupe is performing right in front of us? This money is well spent. I've never seen such a scene in my life. Third Uncle Chin Wenhao also seemed quite excited. Who says otherwise? I heard the theater troupe performs in front of people, and you can even give tips. Just send items on stage, or directly give money to hang around their necks or tuck into their hats. I need to prepare well. Qin Liangping chuckled and added, only 8,000 a day. I thought it was a lot more. This money is really worth it. While saying this, Qin Liangping exchanged glances with others. Qin Huai quickly chimed in. Who says otherwise? Little Mo knows how to arrange things. I was wondering why they were leveling the ground with a bulldozer yesterday. I can't wait to see the theater troupe perform. By the way, can we request a song? Chin Mo grinned and said, sure, why not? We spent the money, so we should be able to request something. That is definitely allowed. Saying this, Chin Mo scanned the surroundings and asked, by the way, where's Uncle Jianjun? Chin Huai quickly replied, he went out to tend the sheep and hasn't he come back yet. Upon hearing this, Chin Mo admitted he was wrong before. He had only thought that Qin Jianjun wanted to feed more sheep, but accidentally ended up buying too many. This led to the situation where while others were chatting, Qin Jianjun was tending to the sheep, while others were just hanging out. Qin Jianjun was cutting grass for the sheep. In fact, Qin Jianjun was either out tending sheep or on his way to do so. Just thinking about it made Qin Mo smile wryly. This is really troublesome. Qin Mo couldn't help but say, oh, I made a mistake. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have bought so many sheep for Uncle Jianjun. I won't buy any more in the future. Qin Mo even made up his mind to slaughter Qin Jianjun's sheep in a couple of days, just in time for the banquet. You can't leave him so many sheep. Don't turn around and wear yourself out at your age. Upon hearing Qin Mo say this, the elderly quickly exchanged glances and hurriedly responded, it's fine, it's fine. Your Uncle Jianjun is very happy now. Yes, buying him so many sheep makes him happy. Your Uncle Jianjun is doing quite well now. If I had the means, I would have asked you to buy a few sheep for me too. Others quickly added, Xiao Mo, when are you buying New Year goods? Don't forget my share. Yes, buy a bit more when you get the New Year goods. Remember my portion. You definitely won't mind spending a little extra. I'll let you know if I need anything. Xiao Mo, what is going on? This is unprecedented. The elderly in Qin village are actually asking for things? Not only that, but they don't even think the theater troupe is too expensive? Is Qin Mo spending money without any hesitation? At this moment, the expressions on the faces of the elderly were quite anxious. It's not surprising they reacted this way. It all stemmed from Qin Mo's earlier remark. How can someone who has made billions have nowhere to spend it? And they even sent the money away? How can there be no place to spend money? Has he gotten involved in gambling? Just this one sentence left the elderly in Qin village feeling uneasy. They can't let him spend money. They can't let him spend money for Qin village. If he has money but no place to spend it, what if he gets involved in something he shouldn't? If Xiao Mo is willing to spend money for the village, then let him. As long as he is happy. Isn't this how wealthy people spend money? Just a theater troupe. Wasting money is still better than losing billions, right? Heaven forbid, they can't stop him. If Xiao Mo spends money for the village and then gets criticized for picking up bad habits. In that moment, the elderly in Qin village were filled with a mix of anxiety and complicated feelings. Even the second grandmother quickly said to Qin Mo, Xiao Mo, the theater troupe you found makes me so happy. For my 88th birthday banquet to have a theater troupe, this is something even the landlords of the past couldn't manage. By the way, my birthday banquet is coming up soon. Xiao Mo, you have to buy me some clothes. I need to wear new clothes. As she spoke, the elderly lady gently advised, it's good to spend money, but don't learn from your friend. There are plenty of places in our village to spend money. As soon as she said this, the people around chimed in. Yes. Xiao Mo, take a look at the village's landscaping. Is there anything that needs to be done? The floor in my house is a bit uncomfortable. Can you help me put down some tiles? You have money. I want to be polite about spending it. Just don't learn to gamble. Everyone nodded eagerly. Seeing this situation, Qin Mo couldn't help but chuckle. Well then, Qin family village has never seen such a scene before. Qin Mo felt delighted deep down. Of course, although he was happy inside, he still said, really? Does this cost money? Well, I'll remember that. I thought there was no place to spend money in our village. I was even considering whether to learn from my friends. There's plenty to spend on, but don't learn from them. Just make sure to buy the coffin in advance for me. Count me in. Chapter 89. One sentence to take control. The elderly people in Qin family village all spoke up at that moment, immediately asking Qin Mo for things. If money could be spent here, it could be spent anywhere. They were practically wishing Qin Mo would buy them coffins. It's not that the elderly folks in Qin family village were unreasonable. As long as Qin Mo didn't go astray, it didn't matter how the money was spent. If he didn't get to spend, who knows what bad influences he might pick up? They wouldn't even have a place to cry if that happened. So, listening to them, Qin Mo quickly waved his hands and said, forget about the coffin. I think you all can live for another 100 or 80 years. I'll manage my own spending. And if there is something I'm not satisfied with in the village. Before Qin Mo could finish his sentence, the elderly people around him chimed in, spend. Just spend as you like. If you don't like something in our village, just change it. Right. Do whatever you want. Hearing this, Qin Mo chuckled and said, really? Is that okay? Of course it is. They replied enthusiastically. Qin Mo responded cheerfully, all right, I'll be off then. Don't cook for the new year. Wait for me to come back for a meal. Okay. The elderly folks hurriedly agreed. As soon as Qin Mo left with a smile, the elderly people were left feeling a bit nervous. They exchanged glances several times, and then Qin Huai finally spoke up. What kind of friends has little Mo made? How can someone with billions lose it all? My goodness, he mustn't learn from them. I can see it now. If little Mo wants to spend money in our village, no one should stop him. Right. He seems to enjoy this, and honestly, it's much better than learning to gamble. Exactly, we should think of it this way. Our village is so small, how much can he possibly spend? Exactly. After we're gone, all of this will still belong to little Mo, right? Since it's not being spent elsewhere, if he has the heart to do it. Let him. No matter how much he spends, it's better than losing billions, right? Yes. We need to keep an eye on him. Let him spend money in the village, but he mustn't go down the wrong path. In the past, the elderly folks didn't want Chin Mo to spend money because they thought he should save what little he had. But now, after Chin Mo's comments, they suddenly realized the situation. Spend as much as you can. Since he is making so much money, what is wrong with spending it? No matter how much is spent, it's better than going down the wrong path, right? Speaking of which, some friends lost billions in gambling. This does seem a bit alarmist. Let us not even mention whether the older folks believe it or not. At least this statement makes them realize a reality. That is, it's better for Chin Mo to spend money on the village. After they are gone, everything still belongs to Chin Mo. But if he earns so much money and really has nowhere to spend it, the possibility of going astray greatly increases. This alarming statement from Chin Mo indeed makes it impossible for the older folks to back down. Interestingly, after Chin Mo left, he couldn't help but laugh. He truly didn't expect that such a casual remark could have this effect. Now this is great. Not only has it resolved the immediate issue, but it has also provided a reason for future spending. Wonderful. This is truly delightful. Although it's uncertain if the older folks will get anxious later. At least for the time being, no one is stopping him. Soon, it was time to eat. The older folks quickly appeared in Chin Mo's courtyard. Although it wasn't a banquet, everyone in the village was there, including security personnel. Chin Mo's little courtyard was more lively than ever. Looking at the scene, it was clear that the older folks had yet to recover from their initial fears. Wow, there are so many people. It's quite lively. This is great. I won't have to cook for myself until the end of the year. I never expected to live a life where I can just reach out for food every day. What is this? Such a big lobster? Great. I've never had one before. I must try it later. The faces of the older folks from Chin family village were filled with surprise. Not only were they happy, but the village dogs were also quite excited. They had already appeared in the courtyard, running back and forth, eagerly waiting for someone to throw food for them. Chin Mo was indeed generous. Just look at this feast. How many dishes? 10 dishes? And soup? Wow, this is more elaborate than a big banquet. As the older folks took their seats and looked at the dishes on the table, they couldn't stop praising it. The variety of dishes was indeed abundant. And the chef must have put in a lot of effort. Not only the older folks, but also security and cleaning staff were quite excited. Which company's employee meal looks like this? However, while they were happy, they were also puzzled about why the older folks from Chin family village were so delighted. Logically, if money is being spent, the older folks should be upset instead. Lu Jiaming couldn't help but be curious and leaned closer to Chin Mo. After the boss spoke, he gestured towards the smiling older folks, clearly asking why they had changed their attitude. Seeing this, Chin Mo smiled and whispered to Lu Jiaming, "It's nothing much. I just told them that I have a wealthy friend with nowhere to spend his money." Then he lost a few $100 million in gambling. Hearing this, Lu Jiaming was momentarily stunned. In an instant, his eyes widened. He quickly gave Chin Mo a thumbs up. However, although the thumb was up, the amusement in his eyes couldn't be hidden. It was simply hilarious. Lu Jiaming really didn't expect that Chin Mo could manage to win over the elderly with just one sentence. To be fair, the chef's skills were decent. Although they couldn't compare to Chin Mo, he was still quite precise with his portions. Unlike at the banquet where he served food excessively, this time, under precise control. There was enough food without much left over. Not a single bit was wasted. Even the dogs in Chin family village ended up with full bellies. For those dogs, it felt like an early celebration of the new year. There was nothing much to say about lunch, but the same could be said for dinner. After the meal, the elderly were privately expressing their amazement. Well, we really need to cook this time. Yes, at least not until the new year. I plan to pack away the pots and pans. It seems we need them for a while. Sigh, cooking is so nice, we could just eat together. So many dishes. Don't say that. Don't let Xiao Mo hear it. Right, don't say it. The elderly peeked around, and upon not seeing Chin Mo, they finally let out a sigh of relief. Chapter 90. The theater troupe arrives. The elderly in Chin family village were serious about putting away their pots and pans. With lunch and dinner sorted, breakfast naturally couldn't be missed. The next morning, as the elderly were waking up, the chef had already prepared breakfast. They could eat immediately without any delay. It was quite early, and Chin Mo hadn't even gotten out of bed yet. After hearing the clanging sounds in the yard, he lingered for a while before finally getting up. By the time he got up, the elderly, including Lu Jiaming, had already finished their meals. The chef, seeing that Chin Mo was up, smiled and said, "Hurry up and eat. I've saved you a portion, it's still warm." Chin Imo smiled back and agreed. Okay. While eating, Chin Imo chatted casually with the chef and mentioned, "You've seen the houses we built in the village, right?" "I have." Chin Imo continued. "Actually, that's an activity center, and I'm planning to build a canteen there, with staff dormitories above. Are you interested in working here directly? You could cook in the canteen from now on." The reason Chin Imo said this was quite simple. He had thought it through. Having a canteen would save him trouble. Not only would he not have to cook anymore, the elderly residents of Chinja village no longer need to worry about meal preparations. However, there is an aunt who cooks. Her cooking skills are quite good, but handling meals for a few staff members is manageable. When it comes to feeding the entire village, it becomes quite overwhelming. With this thought in mind, Chin Imo has been considering finding another cook over the past couple of days. Having two people working would make things easier. Is there anyone more suitable than this master chef? As soon as he mentioned it, the master chef was intrigued. Chin Imo is a good boss. And from the previous banquet, the master chef could tell that. Moreover, with this cooking opportunity, the master chef is not foolish. He understands the benefits of working for such a boss. After all, a boss willing to spend so much money in his village is not someone who pinches pennies. Besides that, the master chef has observed people like Lu Jiaming. He was surprised to find out that Qinjiao village has built a community center. There is even a canteen and dormitories, with single rooms. The master chef was immediately interested. He turned to Chin Imo and said, "Really? You can't be joking." Chin Imo has always treated his employees well. He promptly told the master chef, "The salary will definitely be higher for the extra effort. Besides, you'll have all the benefits covered. If you haven't had them before, I can arrange for back payments after some time." After some negotiations, the master chef happily agreed. Furthermore, his working hours would start from now on. This means that his previous cooking was considered a courtesy, but now he is officially employed. "From now on, you'll be my boss." The master chef agreed, and Chin Imo was delighted. He smiled and said, "No need for such formalities. You'll be working hard from now on." The master chef replied, "You're too polite." With another person added to the team, Chin Imo was in a great mood. With one aunt helping out, it wouldn't be long before they found another person, and the canteen in Qinjia village would be fully operational. Seeing Chin Imo in such good spirits, Lu Jiaming came to find him and said, "Boss, the theater troupe is on the way. They should be arriving in Danyang soon, probably by this afternoon." Hearing this, Chin Imo was even happier. The theater troupe really is quite fast, arriving as promised. Fortunately, both meal and accommodation issues have already been resolved by Chin Imo. He repeatedly said, "Great, great." After saying this, he thoughtfully asked, "Do you want us to pick them up?" The troupe has quite a few people coming, and Chin Imo casually inquired about their travel arrangements. Lu Jiaming replied, "I was just about to mention that. Some of them came by vehicle, while others made their own way here. Let's see if we can manage to pick them up. It's really inconvenient for you to drive over just for this. Is one car enough? If not, we can rent another one." Lu Jiaming quickly waved his hand. "One car is enough. There aren't many people coming. I can just drive over myself. Luckily, there is a government vehicle in Qin Family Village, which can fit more people. Otherwise, if it were a regular sedan, it really wouldn't be enough." All right. Lu Jiaming took the car keys and left. Hurrying to pick up the guests, Chin Imo casually told the master chef to prepare some drinks, as there were dozens of people in the opera troupe. Although they bought a lot yesterday, there weren't enough drinks. Chin Imo was prepared and wanted to make sure everyone was taken care of. He also needed to remind the master chef that there would be many people for dinner that night, so the chef would have to be busy. Reluctantly, Chin Imo called over 2 cleaning ladies to help with the cooking. Initially, Chin Imo thought there were plenty of people in Qin Family Village. But once the guests started arriving, it felt insufficient. He didn't intend to have the elderly help with anything. Even though they insisted on assisting, Chin Imo stopped them. In the meantime, Chin Imo turned around and called Wang Lijun, asking him to find 2 or 3 people to help with the cooking. Upon hearing Chin Imo's request, Wang Lijun was surprised. "Temporary? You mean formal, long-term work?" After hanging up, Wang Lijun couldn't help but feel a bit emotional. "Hiring again? Is this still under my wife's management?" Aunt Wang had mentioned to him last time that Chin Imo wanted her to manage the cleaning staff. Although it wasn't explicitly stated, the couple felt this was a burden on her, as if she had become an official. According to company terms, this meant she was part of the management now. Not only had her salary increased, but this was also seen as a promotion. If they were hiring again, wouldn't that still be under his wife's authority? Wang Lijun made up his mind to find a few diligent workers to make things easier for his wife. He knew that it wouldn't be easy to find people immediately, but after dinner, several vehicles of all sizes started arriving at Qin Family Village. There were more than a dozen vehicles in total. Among them were 2 large trucks carrying unknown cargo, and 2 government cars, one of which was driven by Lu Jiaming. The smaller vehicles were even more numerous. Once these vehicles entered Qin Family Village and came to a stop, the doors opened, and a large crowd of people poured out. The opera troupe had finally arrived. Chapter 91. We can't let Mr. Chin's money go to waste. The troupe members descended from the vehicles in a bustling manner. In an instant, the entrance of Qin family village became lively. The sounds of conversation and greetings filled the air continuously. Seeing such a scene, the elderly people of the village were left in a daze. They never expected so many people to show up. When did Qin family village become so bustling? The number of people from the opera troupe was truly overwhelming, reaching dozens. After a moment of shock, Qin Huai looked at the scene in front of him and exclaimed, "So many people? Is this really an opera troupe hired for 8,000 yuan? What kind of troupe with that budget could bring so many people? Even a band for 8,000 yuan would only have a few members." The elderly folks quickly realized they had been deceived. Just the sheer number of people alone indicated that it couldn't possibly be hired for 8,000 yuan. That child, Xiao Mo, must be lying. This definitely isn't 8,000 yuan. With this many people, how could they perform until the 29th of the new year? How much would that cost? They muttered among themselves. Fortunately, Qin Huailin interjected, "Enough? Just consider it as 8,000 yuan. Right. Let us not ask Xiao Mo about it." They all agreed. No matter how much it costs, they are already here. Even if Xiao Mo didn't tell the truth, could you handle it if he did? The group of elderly people felt a mix of melancholy and resignation. They all knew that hiring such an opera troupe would cost a fortune. But they were too intimidated by Xiao Mo's previous remarks to voice their concerns or ask questions. Of course, this didn't stop the pangs of regret in their hearts. Qin Mo, unaware of the feelings of the elderly, realized that there was no turning back now that the troupe had arrived. After the troupe members got off the bus, Lu Jianming led the troupe leader to Qin Mo. "Let me introduce you. This is our boss." Qin Mo was the first to extend his hand and smiled. "Thank you for your hard work on the way here." The troop leader quickly replied, "It's my pleasure. It's really nothing. We should thank Mr. Qin for providing us with food." The troop leader's politeness was evident. After all, he was speaking to the benefactor. Since the troop was established, they had never encountered such a generous booking for an entire month, especially in a rural area. After some small talk, the troop leader hurriedly called over two individuals. "Mr. Qin, let me introduce you to our troop members, Teacher Lu and Teacher Zhang. They are the pillars of our troop." The two teachers had just come off stage and rushed over without delay. Despite having removed their makeup, they were still in their costumes, with their outer garments still containing elements of their performance attire. The two teachers, one male and one female, appeared to be in their 40s or 50s. Facing them, Qin Mo had no idea what roles they portrayed, whether they were Old Shang, male lead, or Hua Dan, female lead, and so on. Whether the singing is good or not, Qin Mo is not sure. Anyway, the person is quite famous. Qin Mo doesn't understand opera. Although he knows nothing, he can't resist the enthusiasm. He quickly said, "Thank you for your hard work. Teachers, let's find a place to sit first." Even the most skilled performers have to give face to the sponsors. Once Qin Mo finished speaking, the response was, "Mr. Qin, you are too polite. It's no trouble at all, just a bit rushed." In fact, after the troupe arrived, there wasn't much time. They truly had no chance to rest. In no time, after confirming the stage setup location, the entire troupe got busy. The large vehicle approached, and they began to set up the stage without even looking for extra hands. The troupe members all got to work, and it looked like they would finish the stage before dark. At this rate, they would be ready in time for the performance. It wouldn't be a problem if they were close by, but given the distance they had traveled, they had spent quite a bit of time on the road. They had just arrived, and now they had to perform soon. Honestly, Qin Mo felt a bit embarrassed. He said to the troupe leader, "There's no rush. We can start tomorrow. We should rest if we need to. I can have someone take you to the hotel in town, and we can come back for dinner." Upon hearing this, the troop leader quickly waved his hand. No. Now that we are here, how can we rest?" Qin Mo thought too much and jokingly said, "It's fine. Since you are here, we will count the expenses from today. It doesn't matter whether you perform or not." After hearing this, the troop leader felt even more embarrassed. Goodness, where have you ever seen such a generous sponsor? Spending so much money and still letting them rest after their hard work. You should know, this day costs 78,000. Not only that, but the troupe also saw the environment of Qinjia village. There isn't even a building around to perform in such a place. Now that they were here, to put it bluntly, even if they had to sleep in a pigsty, as long as it provided some shelter from the wind and rain, they had to be mentally prepared for that. They had to endure since they came to earn money. Unlike Qin Mo, who even booked a hotel, and it's a single room. It's not necessary to mention how luxurious the hotel in town is. But at least it's better than the village, right? The comfort is simply unparalleled. Not only that, as Qin Mo put it, there are many of us. And I originally said we would have dinner at the hotel. But since you are guests, how can I let you eat outside? So, I've arranged for someone to cook for us. With so many members in the troupe, when they saw the dining area, they were amazed. There were chickens, ducks, fish, meat, and seafood. This restaurant didn't serve such meals normally. As a result, the troupe leader responded to Qin Mo, No. Let's perform first before anything else. Mr. Qin, we are here to perform, not to enjoy ourselves. You are making us feel even more embarrassed. After firmly rejecting Qin Mo, the host quickly turned around and found the two performers. He immediately began to speak of Qin Mo's generosity as a benefactor. With the hotel arrangements and 2 teachers hired specifically for cooking, there was no need to say much. Once the atmosphere warmed up, the 2 of you can just get started. Let's put in some effort, show our skills, and make sure Mr. Qin's money is well spent. Upon hearing this, the 2 teachers quickly agreed. Great. We'll get into character whenever you say. By the time the stage was set, it was almost mealtime. Let's have a meal first. And then we'll begin. Chapter 92. Quite filial indeed. Dinner that night was a joyful occasion for both hosts and guests. The head chef's cooking skills were quite impressive. With some help, preparing the meals went smoothly. The troupe had performed in various places, whether in the countryside or the city, they had eaten their fair share. However, the flavors from Qinjia village were quite unique. The best part was that they were generous with the food. The dishes were truly delicious. Far better than what most restaurants offered. The host was really kind. Indeed, although the dining environment was a bit lacking. With Qin Mo's house being a mud brick structure, brick and stone below, and mud above, who really cared about such details? The food was what mattered most. During this time, most of the troupe members had come to understand what kind of benefactor Qin Mo was. A big boss, wealthy. This was an old house, and they were currently building new ones. It was one thing to install streetlights in the village, but there were also surveillance cameras. Even if the village seemed modest, they had a laundry service. Not to mention, this village surprisingly had security personnel. Finding such a generous boss was rare. The villagers were truly fortunate. Plus, he was young and capable. Who else in the village could install streetlights? I've never seen that anywhere else. There were indeed places with streetlights in villages, but those discussing this were still young and had seen less. Not to mention the troupe members, the elderly in Qinjia village, while being frugal, couldn't help but be thrilled by the lively scene. As they felt a pang of regret over the expenses, they still remembered to enjoy themselves. Our village has never been this lively. Yes, Qin Huai also exclaimed. It hasn't been like this for many years. Just thinking about how festive it would be until the end of the year brought smiles to their faces, with laughter crinkling their features. Of course, there were some complaints. Take the second grandmother, for instance. She was worried about the spending. So, Qin Jianjun quickly said, don't let Xiao Mo hear that. If you keep criticizing him, he might go astray. It's fine to feel the pinch privately, but as long as Xiao Mo knows his limits, let him spend as he wishes. Qin Jianjun was still quite pleased. Qin Mo had told him that in a couple of days, they would slaughter a few sheep. Previously, when Qin Mo bought sheep for Qin Jianjun, he had purchased several large ones. When he said this, it made Qin Jianjun extremely happy. Finally, he could let a few sheep go. He could finally have some leisure time. He had been worn out during this period. He did want to raise more sheep, but not like this. Doing so much at once made it hard for him to chat while tending the sheep. With the village installing surveillance, people were watching him while he was herding. Anyway, it seemed he was either herding sheep or on his way to do so. Life was really tough. If he could slaughter a few, he would feel a bit lighter. Of course, when it came to the idea of slaughtering sheep, Qin Mo also fully consulted Qin Jianjun's opinion. Was he willing to do it or not? If not, he could hire a couple of people to help with herding, or even directly set up a breeding farm. At the very least, he could buy a couple of sheepdogs. When Qin Jianjun heard this, he waved his hands repeatedly, unwilling to agree. He didn't want to continue with herding, as he was barely making any money. So, when he heard about slaughtering sheep, Qin Jianjun was happy. But little did he know, during the conversation with Qin Jianjun, Qin Mo had a new idea. He wanted to set up a breeding farm, gather all the sheep, pigs, and livestock from Kanjiakan into the farm. It would also count as a business, generating income for Kanjiakan, allowing the elderly in the village to earn some money. They definitely wouldn't want cash, but if they could invest and make a profit, that would be something they could discuss. Moreover, after the harvest of this season's wheat, Qin Mo planned to take over all the land in Kanjiakan. The elderly there wouldn't have to do any more work in the fields. Regardless of whether it was investment or cooperation, Qin Mo intended to hire people. He might even buy some large machinery to reorganize the land of Kanjiakan into a farm format, completely liberating the elderly. After dinner, the chef had the toughest job. He still had to help clean up. And not only that, but he also had to start preparing the ingredients for tomorrow's breakfast. Fortunately, both the security staff and the cleaning crew were helping out. They were also benefiting from this. Such meals would last until the new year. Qin Mo felt embarrassed about the chef's busyness. Master Zhao, you've worked hard. I'll ask Uncle Wang right away if he has found anyone to help. Once the people arrived, there would be support for you. It was indeed tiring, but for someone used to banquets like Zhao Wenshang, it wasn't a big deal. He smiled and said, oh, this little intensity is nothing. I'm used to it, just don't worry, boss. No rush, take it slow. The main thing was that, even though the helpers hadn't arrived yet, there were many people willing to assist. As for the elderly in Kanjiakan, Qin Mo didn't allow them to work, fearing they would tire themselves out. Still, some elderly people secretly came to help. There was no stopping them. So, Chin and Mo just went along with it. As the elderly couldn't sit still, they didn't mind working for a wage at all. It feels like everyone is ready to lend a hand. Things are busy here, and the theater troupe over there is also starting to get busy. The time for the performance is approaching quickly. Lu Jiaming ran over to find Chin and Mo. Boss, are we going to start performing soon? Yes. We're not planning to take a break. It will start shortly. Lu Jiaming scratched his head, feeling a bit embarrassed. Then I'd like to take a leave and go home for a bit. Hearing this, Chin and Mo laughed and said, at this hour, why ask for leave? Aren't you off work now? If you want to go home, just go. No need to tell me. It was indeed time to finish work. Although the time had come, Lu Jiaming thought about how busy things were in Chin family village now. The theater troupe had just arrived, so how could he leave? Besides, with such a good boss and so little work, how could he even think about work hours? Lu Jiaming had no concept of finishing work. In his subconscious, he was always on duty, 24 hours a day. If the staff dormitory were built, he would feel like he was on call all the time in Chin family village. After Chin Mo finished speaking, Lu Jiaming waved his hand and said, no way. I have to stay here. What if something happens and I'm needed? Hearing this, Chin Mo chuckled. All right, as you wish. Then he added, but where are you going? Lu Jiaming grinned. My mother, she's getting on in years. She loves listening to operas. The troupe is about to start. I'm going to pick her up. Upon hearing this, Chin Mo said, okay, go ahead. Take my A8. It'll be more comfortable. You have to say, Lu Jiaming is quite filial. Chapter 93. When has our village ever been this lively? Lu Jiaming is indeed very filial, but he is not the only one. Just after Lu Jiaming finished talking with Chin Mo, several security guards were stirred when they heard he was going to bring his elderly mother to listen to the opera. Even Master Zhao was a bit tempted. My parents love listening to operas too. Mine do as well. They often enjoy watching operas on TV. Yeah, they even like to listen to operas on the radio. In response to these comments, Chin Mo laughed heartily. Alright, anyone who wants to bring their elderly folks over can do so. If not, let old Lu drive the official car and bring everyone over. It's common knowledge that elderly people love listening to operas, especially in the countryside. Usually, at any family banquet where a Swana band is invited, the ones left to enjoy the opera at the end are definitely the elderly. It's no wonder Lu Jiaming and others had the thought. Normally, they wouldn't think of their parents, but this troupe is not just any ordinary theater troupe. Not to mention, even the gong players are performing live. And the roles are well cast. Elderly people who love opera have never seen such a live troupe before. With such an opportunity, knowing their parents would enjoy it, they couldn't let it slip by no matter what. For such a scene, Chin Mo was quite pleased to witness it. Lu Jiaming was hurriedly driving to pick someone up, looking cheerful. Before long, one elderly person after another was brought to Chin village. The timing was just right. As the sound of drums and gongs could be heard from the other side, the opera troupe had started performing. Below the stage, the elderly folks from Chin village had already taken their seats, making the village even livelier. As the performance began, the actors from the troupe appeared on stage shortly after. It must be said, the actors were indeed remarkable. Chin Mo didn't understand traditional opera, but as soon as they opened their mouths, the difference in their tone and delivery compared to ordinary performers was evident. Although Chin Mo wasn't well versed in opera, he could still appreciate it to some extent. He could make some judgments about it. While he might not understand, the elderly audience who loved opera certainly did. The elderly folks in Chin village watched intently, occasionally cheering. Good. Accompanied by lively discussions. They remarked on how well the performers sang. Was it really possible that they were hired for 8,000? Little Mo must have spent quite a bit, but it was worth the money. Smiles blossomed on the faces of the elderly in Chin village. In that moment, they were genuinely happy. Seeing this scene brought joy to Chin Mo as well. The happiness of the elderly folks in Chin village proved that his efforts were not in vain. Speaking of which, he had never understood opera before, but standing there for a while, he found himself gradually developing an interest in it. He began to appreciate the aesthetics involved and was starting to understand why the elderly loved it so much. However, Chin Mo hadn't listened for long. As the opera troupe performed, the loudspeakers amplified the sound, projecting it outward. In the countryside, at night, it was completely quiet without the noise of city traffic, allowing the sound to travel far. Before long, shadows of more people began to appear in Chin village. These were older individuals who had heard the commotion and came from other villages to see what was happening. Oh, they really are performing opera. I was wondering who was hosting an event. I came to see the excitement. I thought it was a Swana band, but it turned out to be an opera troupe. I heard the commotion from Chin village and was curious about what was going on. The crowd continued to grow, but unfortunately, there was no place to accommodate everyone. Chin Mo initially thought that with not many elderly people in Chin village, they had set up enough chairs early on. He didn't expect so many others to show up. Seeing the large crowd, mostly older folks standing around, Chin Mo realized this situation wouldn't do. He quickly rushed to find Lu Jiaming. Let's go. Let's buy some plastic stools on the street. There are so many people with no place to sit. Okay. Lu Jianmin immediately stood up after hearing Qin Mo's words. The two of them drove to the town. In the evening, there weren't many people in the town, but there were still a few around. Moreover, most of the shops in the town were family-owned, so they rarely closed before bedtime. Qin Mo and Lu Jianmin visited 3 Tuyuan stores and some grocery stores, buying a large number of plastic stools and stuffing them into the car, which was filled to the brim. After purchasing the stools, they were about to head back, but Qin Mo noticed a roadside stall selling sunflower seeds and snacks. Without hesitation, he bought out the entire stall, throwing bags of seeds onto the car as well. That wasn't all. Qin Mo also stopped by a tea shop, buying a lot of tea leaves along with a bunch of disposable cups from the supermarket, and he got quite a few cigarettes from a tobacco shop. With tea and snacks in hand, before heading back, Qin Mo asked Lu Jianmin, "When I see people performing, the audience sometimes throws things on stage or puts money on the performers' heads. Is that how it works?" Lu Jianmin chuckled and replied, "Boss, you're talking about tipping. That's very normal. If someone performs well, the audience throws things as tips to the troupe. As for the money placed directly on the actors' heads or given to them, that's for the actors themselves." Hearing this, Qin Mo was enlightened and excitedly said, "Let's go find an ATM so I can withdraw some money. Then we can buy more things to throw on stage." Upon hearing this, Lu Jianmin immediately understood what Qin Mo was planning and became interested. "Then I'll buy some things too. I want to tip as well." After they finished their errands and returned to Kanjiakan, the village was even livelier. Not only did many people from nearby villages come, but even those from farther away made their way over. At this moment, Kanjiakan was bustling with people in front of the stage. The elderly folks in the village were so engrossed in the performance that when they finally realized what was happening, they turned around and were nearly startled by the scene before them. "Wow." A voice of admiration broke through the air. Third uncle exclaimed to second aunt, "My goodness. When has our village ever been this lively?" "What did you say?" Second aunt asked, her face flushed. "I said, why are there so many people in our village? It's so lively." At this moment, all the villagers of Kanjiakan had similar expressions, excited. It wasn't just the villagers. Anyone who came would be taken aback by the lively scene. Moreover, those who didn't understand the past stillness of Kanjiakan would inevitably feel a surge of excitement if they knew even a little about it. Seeing this scene, Sun Yi couldn't continue watching the show. "Where's Xiao Mo? With so many people, why is everyone just standing? Where did Xiao Mo run off to? When how? Let's go find some stools and buy some sunflower seeds. Has the small shop in Nanzhuang closed? We need to buy some cigarettes." Qin Huai shouted excitedly. Just as he finished speaking, Lu Jianming and Qin Mo had just parked the car. As soon as the car door opened, Qin Mo called a few security guards over to help unload the items. They took down stacks of stools. "Hurry up and spread out." "All right." The security guards quickly responded. One by one, the stools were taken apart. "Sit down. Don't stand." Some onlookers also came over to help distribute the plastic stools. While this was happening, Qin Mo found a few dustpans. He forgot to buy a tea tray. No choice, he had to use the dustpan. This dustpan wasn't the kind used for trash, but rather the type used in the countryside for winnowing rice. One that has an open side where you put the grains on top and shake it to sift them. Qin Mo found several of these and poured peanuts, sunflower seeds, and candies onto them, then handed them to the security guards. "Distribute. Distribute." The security guard holding the dustpan shouted. Come, have some sunflower seeds. Grab a handful, come on, don't be shy. Peanuts and sunflower seeds are nothing." A whole pack of cigarettes was also torn apart by Qin Mo and dumped onto the dustpan. He told another security guard, "Distribute this one too." The security guard also held the dustpan. "Anyone who smokes, come and get some. Here, take some. Hold it up, hang it on your ear." The security guards in front were busy, and behind them, Master Zhao was also working hard. He directly boiled water in a large pot, filling one thermos after another. Although it was a bit tiring and busy, everyone's faces were filled with smiles. Originally, San Yi was worried about the busy work, but seeing this scene, he relaxed. Cheerfully, he sat down again and said to Qin Wenhao, Xiao Mo has taken care of everything. We don't need to do anything. Should we go help?" Qin Wenhao asked. Qin Huai waved his hand. "Xiao Mo thinks things through better than we do. Let the young people handle it." After saying this, Qin Huai dabbed at the corner of his eye. He realized that saying this in other villages would be quite normal. But in Qin family village, when did people start saying such things? Let the young people handle it. Other villages have young people, plenty of them. But in Qin family village, there's only Qin Mo. But even with just him, Qin Huai was happy. Just one can carry the burden. How could Qin Huai not be pleased? Listening to the surrounding voices, "What? You invited this opera troupe to perform on the 29th day of the Lunar New Year? Oh my goodness. They sing so well. It's impressive. Is this the lead role? They were brought in from another place. Oh my, how much is this going to cost? I see there are dozens of people in this troupe. It's all arranged by our Xiao Mo. Impressive. You young folks from Qin village really have potential." Although there aren't many young people here, with 8 villages combined, none can compare to your group. Haha. The old folks from Qin village couldn't help but smile at this. They were just waiting for compliments. Moments later, the performance on stage reached its peak. Cheers and applause erupted from the audience. When Qin Imo noticed this, his eyes flickered with hesitation. Lu Jiaming excitedly approached him. Boss, shall we go up? Let us go. Great. Lu Jiaming, filled with excitement, carried a large pile of items and shouted, make way, make way. He pushed toward the edge of the stage. When he reached the stage, he put down the pile of items and began tossing them onto the stage one by one. Lu Jiaming, who was in his 50s, was not only watching a troupe perform for the first time, but it was also his first time giving tips. He was quite exhilarated. As he threw items onto the stage, the performers sang even more passionately, and the audience cheered loudly. The atmosphere was truly electrifying. Qin Mo's face turned a bit red as he saw this. Without hesitation, he jumped onto the stage. In an instant, without saying a word, he pulled out a thick stack of cash from his pocket that was barely manageable in one hand. He took it and stuffed it directly into the performers' headbands, especially filling up the corners. With the remaining cash, he had no place to put it, so he simply tossed it up in the air. In that moment, the stage was filled with bright red bills. It looked so lively. This money wasn't just for fun, it was all for the troupe. The performers continued singing while also picking up the money, their faces filled with excitement. The front stage erupted with cheers. Awesome. The roar of applause was deafening. The backstage performers were equally thrilled, and the troupe leader was energetically shouting, quick, prepare the stage. Come on, come on. Even the sound of the gongs and drums seemed to have gotten louder. Qin Mo's generous display of cash stirred the emotions of the entire audience. Some shouted, darn it, I didn't bring anything when I came. Make way, make way. Those with cash in their pockets also began tossing money onto the stage. Colorful bills flew up in a flurry. And that wasn't all. People from other places watching the performance were just as enthusiastic. The elderly folks from Qin village couldn't sit still. Before long, the second aunt brought a box of milk and some cookies that Qin Mo had bought last time, but hadn't eaten. She told the security, throw these up. Third uncle brought a bucket of oil and a large bag of rice, tossing them onto the stage. A more ridiculous bleating sound came from afar. Qin Jianjun was dragging 2 sheep, his face flushed as he shouted, make way, make way. He pulled the sheep over, clearly overwhelmed. No matter what it was, the troupe didn't turn their noses up at anything. Upon seeing the 2 sheep, some members of the troupe quickly jumped off the stage to help. Seeing this scene, Qin Mo, who had calmed down a bit, couldn't help but laugh heartily. Just then, on the dark road far from Qin family village, 2 figures were pulling a suitcase, gradually approaching the village. From a distance, they could hear the commotion in the village. As they got closer, they happened to hear a crying performance on stage. A few hundred meters away from Qin family village, the 2 figures stopped. Dad. A young man in his teens looked curiously at the man beside him, who appeared to be in his 30s. The 2 shared a similar age. Seeing the look of confusion, the man remained silent. Suddenly, he knelt on the ground with a thud and began to cry. The boy quickly tugged at his arm. Dad, why are you crying? Did we take a wrong turn? Aren't we here? The man choked out. We didn't take a wrong turn, definitely not. Why is there a performance? Who has passed away? Who has died? My grandparents and uncles. He howled, crying even harder. The boy couldn't help but wipe away his own tears. In this dark night, 2 grown men, one kneeling and one standing, were both shedding tears. Lu Yangyang didn't know how to comfort Qin Tianrui. Seeing his father cry like this, he could only cry along, feeling helpless. It's quite unusual for them to not share the same surname. Such a situation was rare. After a while of wailing, Qin Tianrui finally wiped his tears and stood up. He quickly turned to his son and said, let us go back. There was a small shop on the way. We need to buy some paper and firecrackers. Hearing this, Lu Yangyang nodded eagerly. How did they end up here, and why were they heading back? Not long after they returned, the 2 had paper and firecrackers in their hands. They walked in silence. As they approached the village entrance, the sound of the opera grew clearer. Qin Tianrui's mood became heavier. He gazed at the streetlights of Qin family village from afar. Taking a deep breath, he spoke to his son with a heavy heart. It's been so many years. And it's still the same. The houses haven't changed. They've just installed streetlights. I didn't expect the village to have streetlights. As he spoke, despite the village having streetlights, there was no sign of happiness on Qin Tianrui's face. Instead, he let out a heavy sigh. Lu Yangyang could no longer hold back and asked, Dad, why are you crying? It's the end of the year. Aren't there many people holding banquets? Isn't it normal for the village to have banquets? Why do we need to buy paper? He was still young and couldn't fathom those things. Hearing this, Qin Tianrui lamented. Have I ever told you that in my hometown village, most people are elderly? There are hardly any young people left. The Qin family village hasn't held a banquet in years, so why do you think there's one now? Listening to Qin Tianrui, Lu Yangyang finally understood. There were no young people in the village, which naturally meant there were no marriages. Since there were no marriages, the reason for the banquet became clear. As they discussed this, the mood of the two became even heavier. Liu Yangyang had never been to Qin family village since he was born, and he had never met any of the elderly there. Although he hadn't seen them, he had heard about the village for many years. Despite his young age, he felt a deep connection to Qin family village. Now knowing that there might be an elder mentioned by his father who had possibly passed away, he felt a heavy heart. The sorrow of life's end weighed on him, even at his young age. In silence, the two of them soon reached the village entrance. The stage was set up nearby, and from their position, they could already see a bustling crowd. As they approached the crowd, which was still about 20 to 30 meters away, Qin Tianrui suddenly pulled his son and knelt down at the road entrance. In the next moment, he pulled out firecrackers and lit them. The popping sounds echoed around them, and both of their heads were lowered deeply. The people around them hadn't noticed at first, as everyone was focused on the performance on stage. The atmosphere was just right. No one was in the mood to look around. Only the security guard, Lu Jiaming, holding a dustpan, and others like Qin Mo were moving about. Although the sound of the performance was loud, it couldn't drown out the sound of the firecrackers. As soon as they heard the firecrackers, many people instinctively turned to look. Upon seeing two figures kneeling in the middle of the road, they were puzzled. Who are those people? Why are they kneeling? What is going on? The onlookers from Dongzhuang and Shizhuan were confused and began to call out to the people from Qin family village. Seeing this scene, Qin Fugua, along with a few others who had come to watch, hurried over with a look of confusion. Before he could clearly see who they were, he wondered if they were beggars. He couldn't help but exclaim, "There's a banquet in the village, but we still have beggars around." Usually, they only come on the day of the banquet to set off a small firecracker as a gesture of celebration. If it were a funeral, they'd come to help out, and the host would give them a small red envelope and a meal. In the past, those beggars would even carry around firecrackers. Those things are really loud and not just one-time use. However, it's generally not polite to refer to someone as a beggar. Instead, they are often called street performers. Nonetheless, it's quite rare to see someone begging at night. Qin Fugua was still pondering why this beggar seemed so dedicated. Although he thought this way, he didn't slack off. As he walked forward, he started rummaging through his pockets. He found 2 bills, 200 yuan. He took them out, intending to hand them over casually. In other circumstances, he wouldn't give so much. 200 yuan was indeed a significant amount. But now that the Qin family was doing well, he didn't mind being generous. He approached the large and small figures beside him, quickly helping the person up while handing over the money. Get up, get up. Here, take it." He was puzzled. It was one thing to beg at night. But why bring a child? And why was the child bowing? What was with all the bags? Was this some new way of begging? Qin Fugua found it hard to understand the situation, suspecting that they were probably from out of town and had brought their trends to Kanjiakan. As Qin Fugua helped the person, Qin Tianrui looked up in confusion at the 200 yuan being offered. He didn't think much about it at first. But when he saw the helper momentarily lost in thought, he compared it to the image in his mind. In an instant, tears filled Qin Tianrui's eyes. The tears flowed down rapidly. Seeing him cry so fiercely, Qin Fugua was anxious. Wasn't 200 enough? That should be enough. Get up, get up. Hey, it can't be like this. As soon as Qin Fugua finished speaking, Qin Tianrui wiped his face and couldn't help but say, "Uncle, look at who I am." At first, Qin Fugua didn't think much of it, but hearing this made him take a closer look at Qin Tianrui's face. He didn't react at first, but upon a second glance, he was stunned. "Is that you, Tianrui?" Qin Tianrui cried out. "I am Tianrui, uncle." Qin Fugua was taken aback and then slapped his thigh, exclaiming, "Oh my goodness, it's really Tianrui." His eyes instantly turned red. After saying that, he glanced at the two and wiped his tears, asking, "How did you end up begging?" Chapter 96. Why did you come back? Seeing that it was Qin Tianrui, Qin Fugua was both surprised and delighted. Instantly filled with tears of joy, he was happy that Qin Tianrui had returned. There weren't many young people in Kanjiakan, and Qin Tianrui was one of them. Calculating the time, it had been at least 10 years since Qin Tianrui last returned to the village. The last time he came back was for his wedding, bringing his wife with him. The whole village gathered for a meal. On the night he left, there were tears everywhere. Yes, it was indeed a wedding. More than a decade ago, when Qin Tianrui was in his 20s, he found a girlfriend outside and became a son-in-law in another family. This is why his son carries the Lu surname instead of Qin. As for why he became a son-in-law, it was simply because he couldn't find a wife. His parents had passed away, leaving him without support. Marrying a wife isn't just about the bride price. At the very least, you need to have a decent house, right? However, he had nothing. More than a decade ago, Kanjiakan was just a village of adobe houses. At that time, Kanjiakan had nothing but a meal to eat. The village was full of older folks. Therefore, Qin Tianrui had to become a son-in-law. Back then, there were already few young people in Kanjiakan, and with one marrying out, It was no wonder that Qin Tianrui cried so bitterly when he left. After he left, even the second grandmother and others cried for a long time. The seventh grandmother, whose eyes weren't so bad before, ended up like this after crying so hard. Now, imagine someone who hasn't returned in over 10 years suddenly shows up. How could Qin Fuguo not be happy? Of course, it was just joy. As for surprise, what happened to you, child? Why are you begging? Qin Fuguo hit his own chest with his fists, not out of anger, but from a feeling of frustration and helplessness. Finally seeing a relative, Qin Tianrui was crying sadly. However, Qin Fuguo's words left Qin Tianrui stunned. He froze and instinctively replied, "I'm not begging." Qin Fu